Hey guys, I'm here earlier than expected. Is anyone even watching right now? Yeah, I had to rush my happy ass up here because apparently we got the time zones mixed up. Well, I didn't. I didn't get the time zones mixed up. I was correct. Let me send a link to Martae. Give me 1 second, guys. Yeah, I was about to sit down and eat my noodles because I had nothing going on, the wife and kids are out running errands and stuff. So I was just going to wait, chill the next hour until, or almost an hour till it was time to go. And then I tuned into Martae's stream and he's like, "Hey, where's that link at?" And I was like, "Oh, fuck." All right. Hold on, guys. I hate it when they ask me stupid security security. All right. Okay, just sent Martae the invite. Oh crap. Dude, freaking Aftermath is like messaging me and I barely saw it now. I gotta apologize to him. I gotta apologize. All right. Links have been set. Is it okay to say Trump is fake yet? Completely fake? No. I mean, there's definitely some things you could say he's fake at, but like as a whole overall, I know the lefties have been sharing around that document that alleged that he like raped a girl, but apparently it's not from like a firsthand source yet. So I just need something concrete, and I don't trust these lefties. Does Martae know I sent him the message? Well, now we just got to wait on Martae. Let me see what he's doing. Let me see what he's doing. All right, I guess he sees it. Just waiting for him. How's it going? Good to see you guys, by the way. Thank you for joining us tonight. Man, it's all foggy. I had to like rush up here. I had to rush up here. So I'm like all sweaty. My noodles are like right here too. They're steaming hot. All right. Okay, Marte's got it. I hear him on his stream. He's saying he's going to come on right now. So now we just play the waiting game. Hopefully he lets Aftermath know. Oh, there we go. Aftermath's here. Let me add you to the stage. Hey, yo, Aftermath. How's it going, brother?
What's up, cool? How you doing, man?
Pretty good. And yourself?
Good. Wasn't expecting to start a little earlier, but it happens sometimes.
Dude, yeah, I know. Same here. Like I said, I was expecting to come on. I had nothing going on until then. My
Yeah.
wife and the kids are out running errands, so
Sure, sure, yeah.
I was just gonna chill and relax until time was come. I was getting like noodles already. I was gonna eat some noodles,
Right,
and
right.
then I tuned into Martae, and Martae's like, "Hey, where's this link at?" And I was like, "Oh crap!"
Well,
So yeah.
I got a notification YouTube that Martae was live, and I was like, oh, maybe he's just doing a little pre debate live stream. So I was like, I'll check it out real quick. And then
Yeah.
as soon as I got on, he was like, oh man, I fucked up. Like there's the time confusion. So it's all good. I didn't even know. I thought that because I know he's down in Arizona. So
Yeah.
I thought it was the same time. I'm up in the Pacific Northwest, so I guess there's a time difference. So
Yeah, I think because I think Arizona doesn't do the whole time change thing. So I think that's what throws it off. Yeah.
what? Why?
Yeah, I have no
Arizona's just
idea.
like, nah, we're good.
Yeah, pretty much. They're just like, yeah, we're good. So, yeah, me and Martae share the same time for like what, like some of the year, and then other part of the year, it's like an hour off, I think.
Shit.
Yeah, dude. Hey, by the way, man, I want to apologize. When I logged into X to send you the link, I saw you'd message me, but
Oh yeah.
I barely just saw it now. So I just want to
No,
let you
no,
know.
no, it's all good,
Yeah.
man. It's all good. I just want to make sure I'm not like, 'cause I'm the newbie here. I'm the rook, so I just wanted to make sure I'm not like stepping on anybody's toes or anything like that, man. So I'm grateful that you and Martae are platforming me and giving me the opportunity to grow my channel and get become a better debater. And so this is my first moderated debate, man. So I'm super excited. So there he is.
Yeah, I
There's
had
the
to,
man.
play my intro for my audience and
Oh yeah,
do all
yeah.
that good stuff.
Yeah,
All
no,
right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble.
This way.
So,
hell yeah, guys. Let's
Vic, you're
do
not going to
this.
debate Aftermath? I thought I was going to, eat popcorn and just watch you guys debate real quick.
Yeah, you thought you were gonna moderate the debate?
Yeah, I thought I was going to actually do a reverse Uno on you, a debate Uno. So, but I guess that's not going to happen. I guess I'm going to have to go to fisticuffs, verbal fisticuffs, and go to war as usual. Good to see you, Aftermath.
You too, Martae. Looking forward to it, man. I'm excited. So
mercy on your soul
Absolutely.
there, sir. Yes.
Yes, indeed. All right, so guys, welcome to another edition of Debate Me, Bro. Oh, what the heck happened to Martae? Martae dropped out. Oh, is Martae running? I'm just kidding.
I'm wondering, because he was live, I'm wondering maybe something happened. Maybe he just got to reboot it or something.
I don't know. If you were some lefty, you would be like, Martae, he rage quit.
See that? He didn't want to. He didn't want to debate me.
Yeah, he didn't want to debate me.
Dude,
that's what a lefty would say.
Hey, I went ahead. I exited out the wrong tab. I was closing tabs and closed out that tab. I was like, oh crap.
Yeah, no worries. We're just saying that if Aftermath was some lefty, he would be sitting here going, yeah, see, he's scared. He rage quit, huh?
He backed out.
He backed out.
Oh, the rat uterus book again. I didn't even have to use it this time. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Bro.
He was scared. He was scared of the rat uterus book and my knowledge of the rat uterus book.
He was scared because I'm going to lie to my kids and put my nuts in a vice to lie to my kids. That's what happened. Like, what, bro? This is two different debates, liberal. So stupid.
Dude, I saw the counterpoints debate. I was laughing. You're like, wait, what did you just say you would do?
What's crazy is I part of me, my melanin was like, I was going to go get milk and then not come back. But then I had to come back to the stream because I was like, oh, I got obligations. Oh, crap. My black card is gone. Woe is me. Anyways, I'm here ready for war.
All right, so let's do this. So yes, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another Debate Me Bro debate. This time it is Martae Rayless versus the Aftermath. The prompt is building contradicts Christian ethics, and so
bodybuilding.
Building?
Did I say bodybuilding?
Yeah.
Oh, you said buildings. I'm like, so architects are definitely antichrist now? That's crazy, bro.
The Sears Tower against Christian ethics.
9/11 was definitely Christ-like behavior. Yeah. Well, no, let me not say that. That clipped out of context here.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, be careful, Martae. You're gonna get clipped.
Please don't clip that. Let's not do that.
All right. So bodybuilding contradicts Christian ethics. All right. Martae will obviously be on the negative, correct? Because you don't believe that it does. Aftermath will be on the affirmative. And so how we're going to do things is each of you gentlemen will have a 7-minute opening statement, followed by a 1 hour just straight back and forth, followed by your closing statements, and then we'll do a half-hour Q&A. So let's see. So I guess we can get started with the... Oh, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt, Cool. So you said a 7-minute. I might go because the last time that I rehearsed my opening, I think it was around 8 minutes. So is that okay if we go a few minutes over and then extend that same time to Martae, or because I'm not sure if I'll be able to do it because I usually thought that you get about 10 minutes.
Aftermath. Yeah, so here, I'll even offer a solution to this.
Yeah.
Aftermath, I'll give you one of my minutes of my 7 because you're going to need it. But let's continue.
Fair enough.
All right.
And I wish you good luck too.
Thank you, Martae. I appreciate it.
All right. So Aftermath will get an 8-minute opening statement. Martae will get a 6. And so let's see. I believe we'll let Aftermath go first.
Yeah, so, and then hopefully I can just stay at the 7 minutes. But if it goes, maybe 1 minute, I appreciate the leniency. So, all right, just 1 second.
All right.
Let me get this.
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
Yeah. All right. All right.
Oh, hat crew.
So, all right. That's right. First and foremost.
Right. Whenever you're ready.
Oh, yeah. Ready to go?
Yeah, we're ready to go.
All right. First and foremost, my position on this debate prompt is not a hill I'm willing to die on. In fact, I never thought my first moderated debate would be on this topic because I'm far more interested in destroying the worldview of feminists, non-Orthodox Christians, atheists, secularists, and so on. However, when Martae brought up the idea of setting up this debate topic, I thought it was a great way for me to get my feet wet in the world of online debate. So let's get into it. I will be arguing to position bodybuilding contradicts Christian ethics, Christian teachings, but I will be doing so from a secular perspective. Why am I going to be arguing from a secularist perspective? Simple. I'm a secularist. At least I've come to realize and accept the fact that I've lived a secular lifestyle basically my whole life, and that I've only identified as a Christian because I happen to be born into an Oriental Orthodox family. However, I'm on my own personal path towards Orthodox Christianity because I believe Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior, and orthodoxy makes the most sense as far as all the Christian denominations are concerned. Now, with that being said, I can still argue for and advocate for a Christian-oriented society and culture, meaning society operates based on Christian values, ethics, and actually adheres to those values and principles without subverting. In the words of Mr. Made by Jim Bob, I want Christian ethics and values deployed through law. So what is bodybuilding? If you ask the average person who's not really into bodybuilding but knows about it through culture and or media, i.e. TV, movies, Arnold Schwarzenegger, they will tell you something along the lines of it's people who work out and take steroids to achieve maximum muscle gains for competition. It's not about acquiring, honing, and eventually mastering a skill, trade, or talent, things that actually contribute to society. It's about big muscles. It's not even necessarily about being able to lift the most amount of weight, i.e. powerlifting, which you can argue is useful and practical. According to famous bodybuilder and old school fitness influencer Kai Green, bodybuilding is primarily concerned with being able to stretch and contract your muscles efficiently. This is to achieve maximum muscle growth. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm fully acknowledging and conceding that there is a great deal of discipline and dedication, which are generally considered Christian values, that are necessary to become a bodybuilder, even an amateur bodybuilder. But even then, you have to question whether or not that discipline and dedication are for the glory of oneself, or are they truly doing it in service of God, as a service to God for his grace and glory. So again, I definitely agree that there are elements of Christianity in bodybuilding, and I even agree that if you are truly dedicating your life to the sport for the glory of Christ, then it can be justified. Here's where we come to the problem. The fact that bodybuilding and PEDs go hand in hand, in my opinion, directly contradicts Christian teachings. Now, you can argue and say that there are all natural bodybuilding competitions, and you'd be correct. But you would also have to concede that they are a minority group in the global industry of bodybuilding. Bodybuilding, in many ways, is a form of transhumanism, or at the very least, can lead to it. So what is transhumanism? Well, a simple Google search will tell you transhumanism is a philosophical movement and culture trend advocating for using science and technology like AI, genetic engineering, nanotech, to overcome fundamental human limitations, enhance physical, cognitive abilities, and even achieve radical life expansion or immortality, essentially evolving humanity beyond its current biological form into a post-human state. Now, did any of that sound like a Christian worldview? I think that if Martae is going to be good faith and intellectually honest in this debate, he would have to concede that transhumanism is an anti-Christian movement and philosophy. But why do I say bodybuilding is a form of transhumanism? Well, what else could you say about the quote unquote sport when you remove the faith element out of it and also inject, no pun intended, the PED element into it? Just take a look at some of the modern day bodybuilders who have been on PEDs for so long and have completely pushed their physical bodies to the limit, to the point where they almost don't even look human. Speaking of not looking natural or human, I like to know where Martae's take is on female bodybuilders. Does Martae think that women taking steroids and completely altering their hormones and genetics to the point where some of them can't even have children sound more like transhumanism or Christianity? We also have to take into account the negative cultural impact it has on our youth. A perfect example would be Clavicular, a black-pilled 19-year-old influencer who started doing PEDs at the ripe age of 14 in order to look smacks, which in my opinion is also a form of transhumanism. I like to know where Martae stands on minors taking PEDs. Does Martae, an Orthodox Christian, even have an issue with adults taking PEDs? We haven't even gotten into all the side effects of taking PEDs, both in the short term and long term, which include death. Is Martae going to deny the fact that modern day bodybuilders are notorious for dying prematurely, directly caused by their long-term use of PEDs? If not, I'd like to hear some of his prescriptions on how to tackle these issues. And with that, I will yield my time.
All right, perfect. Yeah, didn't even need the whole time. So you didn't even have to use up Martae's minute. So if Martae wants the full 7, if Martae wants the full 7, he could have it. So thank you very much for that aftermath, Martae, whenever you're ready.
He can still keep the minute. He's going to need it. So I'd like to thank everybody. And Cool Vic, thank you for having me on your channel. And also to everybody in the Coolverse. Shout out to you, everybody in the Analverse. I'm not going to acknowledge you guys. The Aftermath, I appreciate you having the balls, guts, courage, and tenacity to meet me on this playing field, to meet somebody who's the closest thing to a subject matter expert on what you're talking about. In your very first moderated debates, kudos and congratulations to you. Today, we stand at the crossroads of faith. Fortitude and human spirit, my opponent will claim that bodybuilding clashes with Christian ethics, that the use of steroids, which I knew he was going to mention, everybody does, it's like a hot buzzword, in untested leagues has nothing short of cheating, and dismisses the pursuit of mere vanity. I rise to dismantle these misconceptions that my opponent has and affirm that bodybuilding is not only compatible with Christianity, but a profound embodiment of biblical principles, stewardship of God's creations. So my opponent brings up in his introduction statement saying that this is a false equivalent, actually, what you call transhumanism, when really it's just the expounding and magnification of the human body. Transhumanism is to transition from being human. An arm is still going to be an arm with bigger centimeters. It's not going to be anything but an arm in both scenarios. So back to this, I would say the redemptive power of suffering and the triumph of sacrifice over self-indulgence. We are denying our flesh, are we not? If you're raised in a Oriental Orthodox family, you would understand this as well too. As a professional IFBB professional bodybuilder and a professional in 2 world-class sports, part of that razor-thin elite, less than 1% of humanity who dares to push the human form to its God-given limits, the Aftermath, I don't just lift weights. I wage war against weaknesses, forging my body into a temple that honors the creator who designed it for strength, resilience, and dominion over earth. Back to this, consider first the charge of vanity, which he might bring up. My opponent sees sculpted physiques as narcissistic idols, but I see them as temples forged with the fire of discipline, which he already conceded in his initial opening statement. The Apostle Paul urges us in 1 Corinthians 6:19-20 to honor God with our bodies, for they are temples of the Holy Spirit. He already concedes this once again. Bodybuilding is no frivolous pursuit. It's a grueling odyssey of suffering and sacrifice, enduring the agony of relentless training, which nobody's going to tell you. You've already mentioned Kai Green, who's a good friend of mine, and other people. They're never going to tell you this because we have to rope in minors and other people like teens and people like that into the sport of fitness endeavors. You're not going to do this by saying it's suffering and it's going to be stupid hard work and it costs a lot of money. You're just going to drive people away. So, of course, you have to make things appealing for the youth to join. So we're talking about enduring the agony of relentless training, the denial, fasting, and dieting, the mental crucible of pushing past human limits. It's not about glorifying the self, but about mastering the flesh to reflect the divine order of God's creation. Through pain, we echo Christ's own endurance on the cross, transforming weakness into strength, chaos into harmony. Far from vain, bodybuilding is a testament to humility before the Creator, sculpting our bodies in an offering of gratitude. Now, to the matter of steroids that you brought up in your opening statement, a tool in the arsenal for those who dare to suffer beyond the ordinary, my opponent cries that this is transhumanism, maybe even cheating in the leagues that impose no tests, no prohibitions. But where's the deceit? In a realm where enhancement is neither forbidden nor hidden, it is not cheating. Strategy, innovation, and the bold extension of human potential, just as farmers use fertilizers to yield greater harvests from God's earth, or athletes employ nutrition to recovery aids, steroids amplify the body's capability without violating the rules of the game. I've not heard a moral argument against this. He just said, the bad is the bad, man. That's it. To label this as bad and transhumanism is to ignore the essence of competition, not arbitrary purity, but the raw test of who can endure, adapt, and prevail, not changing the human form to the point where it's no longer human, which goes against your whole transhumanism claim. Throw that out the window as we go to Proverbs 47, which reminds us that wisdom is supreme. If steroids enable safer, more effective suffering towards excellence, they align with ethical stewardship, not evasion. And we can get into the deaths of bodybuilding, which I will debunk as well too. And the reason and rationale for that, at the heart of my conviction lies this unyielding truth. And I say this before I even get under the gym. The one who suffers the hardest without dying usually wins. And you can look at this in any sport. Formula One racing, it's almost your death's door knocking. Bodybuilding demands that we embrace this. Hours of isolation in the gym, the sting of lactic acid like thorns at the side, the famine of caloric deficits, that mere biblical fast. It is not for the faint of heart, but those who, like Job, emerge refined through trial. My opponent would have us shy from such vigor, cloaking fear and piety. But I say, honoring our bodies through this sacred grind, we draw closer to the divine image, proving that true victory is not born in ease, but in the forge of faithful suffering. In the rounds to come, I will expose the flaws in my opponent's stance and illuminate how bodybuilding uplifts the soul. Now, the aftermath, when I get underneath this weight, I have a conversation with God and I say, hey, are we straight? Are we good? Because before I get underneath these thousands of pounds in 500 pounds, I want to make sure that we have a good relationship before this crushes me, breaks my back, or causes some harm, ill-fated injury that can happen, because I have to have a good relationship with you before I endure this test of trials that injures so many people that they wouldn't have the bold courage, guts, and tenacity like you meeting in this debate for your first debate to get underneath these weights. So to me, it takes a lot of courage and faith to even do this in the first place too. For now, let's be clear. Bodybuilding is no sin. I have not heard a moral argument through his moral statement, through his opening statement. It's salvation through sweat and a Christ warrior's path to glory. And we can begin. I can see my time.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Martae. Now, before we go into the hour-long debates, I just want to let everyone in the audience know that if you want to send in the super chats for the Q&A at the end, it does start at $5 and up. Obviously, if you send in more, that will give you priority. But it does have to be a minimum of $5 if you have any questions for these gentlemen at the end. And let's see. Oh, yeah. And also, I will be seeing your super chats, but I won't be flashing them on the screen just because I don't want to distract the debaters. And I believe that's about it. So thank you very much, gentlemen, for this. Thank you for being here. Let the games begin.
Yeah. So Martae, I said that in my opening, I said that bodybuilding is a form of transhumanism, or at the very least, it can lead to transhumanism because of the PED element and just scientific technologies, just ever evolving scientific technologies. And you said something, you said God-given limits, right? So how can we have God-given limits if we're using anabolic steroids, right? I mean, these are not natural substances, right? These are synthetic substances. How would you justify bodybuilders taking steroids in order to push? Because from my understanding, bodybuilders, when they start bodybuilding, they don't just immediately go to steroids. They first have to take at least as far as like kind of the conventional bodybuilding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but from my understanding, bodybuilding is something, if you start like say in high school, your bodybuilding, you're taking certain supplements that aren't really considered PEDs, right? Maybe you're taking some creatine, protein powders, and there's all kinds of products you can get. And you do that. I mean, you bodybuild, you continue to build your body for years and years until you get to a certain age and to a certain point where your your natural body cannot go. You've actually pushed it to its natural limit, and it's at that point where you introduce the PEDs into it. And so that's where my contention is that how can you say it's a God-given limit when you are already going to the God-given limit, which is why you're having to inject PEDs into the equation.
So all right, I'll answer your question, but what do you mean by God-given?
Well, you said that in your opening, you said that I forget the exact wordage, but I caught it's bodybuilding is I forgot how you worded it, but it's basically you said that it's bodybuilding is to test something along the lines of like our God-given limit to I forgot how you worded it, but you said God-given limit, and that's kind of the term that I'm having a little contention with.
We can reconcile this. I don't mind doing that. Vic, can you hear me on your end?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I just want to make sure. One of my mods had told me maybe my microphone went out for a bit. So I can actually contend with this. So when we talk about steroid use and all this, like, to me, I don't hear a moral argument against this, and I could say our God-given limits. So our limits are like, let's say that we want to limit our journey to the stars. Is that a God-given limit because we create technology to get to Mars or the moon or something like that? Is that like exceeding our God-given limits to do that? Or is that us using our God-given knowledge and everything that we're born with to enhance things and actually to create things that we're allowed to do? Because if you remember, the Tower of Babel was actually stopped at one point. God put a limit on something. So if he's not putting a limit on something, like I don't understand. That's why we have to get through, like, what do you mean by limit?
Well, I just said that because you're the one who said that term, like the God-given limit, and I'm trying to distinguish. So from what I'm hearing, you don't make a distinction between taking steroids and not taking steroids. Like there's no distinction for that. Like, so if I want to be a bodybuilder, I can't do it. I can't become a professional bodybuilder without taking PEDs, right?
You can. I turned pro damn near naturally. The only thing I took beforehand, and of course this is like anecdotal, and there's no way I can really demonstrate or prove this, but I turned pro as a lightweight in 2013 NPC Nationals. I almost died, and this was because I had pneumonia. I also had an autoimmune disorder, and I can only have clenbuterol because I had such a great fear of needles that when I did take a needle in, and I tried it one time before I turned pro, I felt like it, I felt like my hearing started closing in, and I felt like it sounded like I was in a tunnel, and I just blacked out, and I never took needles ever since before I turned pro, and that's why I was like, damn, I guess I'm going to try to turn pro natural. And I took clenbuterol, which is just a fat burner, which is a bronchodilator. So yeah, that can happen for sure.
But you did eventually start taking PEDs eventually throughout your career though, right?
Right. I did take the only thing I took was, I think it was like something else. It was a testosterone, and it was like Prope, and then it was EQ. So this is like, and if you have to think about this, it's like testosterone. People take this as an anti-aging supplement. They take this to because they thwart off illnesses, as far as like, because I think this could be an inevitable illness to some degree. Because think about this: there's so many plastics in our food right now. Testosterone has plummeted so much. Your grandfather's grip has been so better compared to the grip that we have now. Testosterone has plummeted. Yeah. Do you not agree with this? Because
no, I agree. I agree.
Supplementing. Yep. And then so what we're doing is we're taking everything in a pill format that's natural. So when you take testosterone, we're mirroring our own body's production that we do have. So you would definitely be damning yourself if you were to say, well, I'm in puberty right now, turn 13, and your body's plummeting as far as testosterone productions. So it's like your body's producing the maximum amount of steroids in its time being during adolescence. So you could say that 13-year-old is on more steroids than anybody else, because testosterone synthetically, testosterone naturally, it's testosterone, man. One's just a synthetic version of mankind's creation.
Do you agree, though, that transhumanism is an anti-Christian movement and an anti-Christian philosophy?
Yes, but what do you mean by what's your definition of transhumanism?
So again, I'll pull up that same definition.
Yes,
I literally just
do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I literally just Googled this, and so where are we here? Man, where is it?
And mind you, when we talk about performance enhancing things, we could be talking about everything from ibuprofen to stave off inflammation. We could be talking about creatine, everything else. And just think about this. This is such a broad statement when you say things like testosterone. Your body already produces this. And then not to mention this, when you're 13, you produce copious amounts of this. So it's like, yeah, I don't really think that goes against Christian ethics. And there's not a moral argument I've heard against that, actually.
Can I read that definition again for transhumanism?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
And again, keep in mind, in my opening, I did say that it can lead to transhumanism. So transhumanism is a philosophical movement and culture trend advocating for using science, technology like AI, genetic engineering, right? Which I think, and genetic engineering, you know, I'll say that it is kind of a broad thing, but I mean, I think things like PEDs would kind of fall under that, you know, genetic engineering umbrella. But so it's a science and technology like AI, genetic engineering, nanotech to overcome fundamental human limitations, okay? Enhance physical, cognitive abilities, and even achieve radical life extension.
Hey guys, real quick, sorry to interrupt. Your mod Martae is telling me that tell him he's
hold on real
screen.
quick. Let me my bad. Let me put this up.
What
yeah,
happened?
let me bring this to the stage. My bad. My apologies to my whole audience. I didn't show it on the screen. There we go. Better, right?
I mean, you've always sound good to me. So
yeah. It's just that they couldn't see me. I didn't show my screen at all. For sure.
I see. All right. Okay. Yeah. Let's continue then. And if they keep saying that it's an issue, I'll bring it up.
Yeah. So, okay, let me just do that again, just so we have, you know, because if there's any contention with this, I want to make sure that we agree on this term. So transhumanism is a philosophical movement and culture trend advocating for using science and technology like AI, genetic engineering, nanotech to overcome fundamental human limitations, enhancing physical, cognitive abilities, and even achieving radical life extension or immortality, essentially evolving humanity beyond its current biological form into a post-human state. Now, this could also mean this isn't necessarily limited to just, you know, taking anabolic steroids, PEDs, and so on. It also, and by the way, these transhumanists, I will say these transhumanists creep me out more than any of the liberals. Like if you look at like some of these, like watch some of the interviews with like these guys like Peter Thiel and all these other like, you know, billionaire transhumanists, man, there is something seriously off about them. But transhumanism can even include things like literally chopping your limbs off and basically, what do you call it? Basically having like robotic arms, right? Robotic arms, robotic legs, right? Using all these different types of...
right, moving further away from humanity.
Yeah, exactly. So would you agree that transhumanism is anti-Christian?
Yes, of course. You would definitely be moving away from God's original design and capabilities on its ownness.
Yeah.
Now, however, I will counter by saying this. In bodybuilding, you're using two extremes, which is a false equivalent. You're saying we're replacing arms that were not the original arms to begin with. And when we're talking about this, we're talking about muscular development. So then we could even say that a construction worker working in this business for like 5 years would definitely look better than somebody sitting at a desk working a telemarketer job. Their bodies would transform tremendously under the burden of pressure through sacrifice and strife.
Sure.
Whether it's the person sitting down being a couch potato is going to transform in other ways. I think in America right now, we're the antithesis of fitness, health, and everything like that. We are not only one of the fattest nations on earth, but we live in excess. We live in sloth. There's a movie called Seven where they have the 7 deadly sins, and the guy that ate, he was super fat. That's bodybuilding.
Guilty of all 7 of those.
Bodybuilding in the wrong terms. So when we think about this, it's like then you would be calling trans fats, anti-transhumanism, because when they're eating, they don't look human. They look like a bloated walrus by the time they're doing this. And then not to mention this, we're having such chemical sludge put in foods that humanity is moving the other way. You ever see WALL-E, where humanity got so fat that we had to fly off the planet and everybody died off because they were bodybuilding in such a wrong way that they were becoming obese? So we're bodybuilding, just not in the way that we want to. And I think that if you're making an argument for transhumanism for bodybuilding, that's also transhumanism by your metrics too, by eating blue dye number 3, plastics and everything like that. Bodybuilding is actually a remedy to all this. We're actually fighting all that by maintaining God's design more so than the bloated people from the movie Seven, things like this. So I think that's my counter for that. I haven't still heard a moral argument for why thing bad yet.
Sure. Well, okay. So I can concede to all of that as far as, just fat slob sitting on the couch and just eating nothing but processed foods. But I think where I would push back is that I would say that if we're talking about bodybuilding with, which, you pretty much go hand in hand with PEDs, I would argue that it's kind of, it's opposite ends of the spectrum, right? And it's funny, a few minutes ago, you mentioned how, if you're like a construction worker or something like that, you're going to have a naturally built physique because you're working out all day on the construction site, which that I don't agree with. And I've worked with actual people like who are in construction. They're in other trade skills. And these guys, now, to be fair, yeah, there's still some slobs, but a lot of them, man, and you could tell the ones that are like real pros, man, these guys are like jacked, right? I mean, they're jacked. But I don't think that they're on steroids. I think it's because they have naturally, for years, decades, worked on their, whatever trade they're in requires a certain amount of physicality, and you're working your muscles all day long, and you're getting that natural thing. So again, and it's funny, when I was doing my research for this debate, I watched this documentary, and it's funny because as it turns out, and you can correct me, you might know more about this than I do, obviously, but bodybuilding, from my understanding, it was really it started because of all of these trades workers, like these construction workers, bricklayers, and I guess they would have like these public displays where all these different like workers would come up and kind of display their natural muscles and stuff like that, and that's all fine. I don't have an issue with that, but again, you asked how can bodybuilding lead to transhumanism?
I never asked that.
Okay, I thought you were saying like why is transhumanism? Why is bodybuilding transhumanism?
No, what I'm saying is I don't see the moral argument. That's what I'm saying. I don't see how it's immoral. And I'll even give you a good example of this. So like, let's say I went to Afghanistan and I fought in the war, which, God bless our veterans, and not God bless the stolen battle. But here's the thing, though. Let's say I go to Afghanistan and I have my arm blown off. My arm gets blown off and I come back and they're like, hey, you're at the VA. We're going to give you a prosthetic. Is that person a transhumanist now?
No, because that's not something that he didn't go and like amputate his arm and get a robotic arm. You know what I mean?
Right. Correct. Correct. So this is my thing, though. When we use human innovation to kind of enhance things, to work around things, we have a goal in bodybuilding, and that's either to win a competition or win something. Now, bodybuilding doesn't have like a 3-point jump shooter or shot or anything like that. Bodybuilding doesn't have like touchdowns. Our touchdown, a version of a touchdown, is just, increasing the size and strength of our physique. So we're being judged, and that's a very subjective, I would say, avenue that we go down. In order for me to win a competition, we need to be able to follow the rules of the game in order to win. Now, when I do compete, I am representing the United States of America against the Ukraine. I battle people from the Czech Republic, from Italy, from Spain, from Nigeria, things like this. I'm wearing the flag on my back. So when I go out on stage, they say from the United States of America, Martae, Rayless, whatever, all this is whatever, right? This happens. So it's like, for me to represent my country, not only am I representing an image of the U.S. flag, but I'm also representing Christ, insert the Byzantine flag behind me, things like this. But I'm also looking at the intention of why I do this. So one thing that we can't presuppose is why people do certain things. Now, if my whole limitation or my whole mantra is to supersede humanity and separate myself from humanity, then you could say, yes, I'm a transhumanist by thought, by intention and all this. All I'm going to do when I enter a competition is just to beat the opposition. If we're going to beat the Russians, which bodybuilding is one of the only competitions where we can compete against Russia at this time right now, I don't think any other pro sport besides mine can do that, then this is the avenue to do this. And this sets a precedence for why America is great again and why we can continue to be great. I don't think that that's a bad thing. And I don't think this is going against human nature to do so in any means of the what you're talking about.
So I always want to make sure, like in Orthodox Christianity, there's nothing that is against the use of performance enhancing drugs and things like that, as far as like Orthodox Christianity is concerned.
So we'll throw this out real quick. Can you have bodybuilding without steroids?
Well, you can, but I mean, it pretty much always leads to steroids.
Okay, but can this happen?
Yeah,
because I've demonstrated it myself. It can be done. So your argument is against steroids, not bodybuilding. So steroids bad, and I can even concede that. Like we'll even throw that to the wayside. Bodybuilding not bad.
No. What I said was, so yeah, with steroids, I would argue bad, but I would argue now in your case, because I know that you are an Orthodox Christian, and I know that you are doing it for God. I know that, because I know, not personally, but I know of you, right? I mean, we've talked, but I mean, out of all the bodybuilders in the world, I mean, how many of them do you think are Orthodox Christians? How many that's why in the beginning I preface this by saying that it can be justified if you're not doing it with the use of anabolic steroids, PEDs, and you are genuinely doing it for the glory of God. You're not just doing it for your own personal vanity, your own personal gain, just like, hey, everybody look at me. It's just for your own monetary, material gain. Then yes, it can be justified. But as you know, as we kind of talked about, if you're going to continue to do bodybuilding, and especially once you want to get into that pro, right? I mean, even with you got into pro bodybuilding, you got your pro card naturally. But I mean, you even said that you did eventually end up going on cycles. And I just think that if you're going to be like a Mr. Olympia, you're going to be an Arnold, a Phil Heath, all the greats, that you can't avoid it. You have to at some point start injecting.
You don't have to. There's no.
Well, wait a minute. Well, what bodybuilding? What Mr. Olympia has ever won without the use of PEDs?
Ronnie Coleman almost did. He turned pro without even using anything. As a matter of fact, I know the guy. So he was in law enforcement. He was an officer, tested repeatedly. And I know that doesn't really kind of show that it's an absolute thing, but I'll tell you this right now. And this is something that's outwardly known by everybody else. Derek Lunsford is the current reigning Mr. Olympia. He got down on his knees. He thanks Christ. He's an outward, and I would say a vocalized Christian when it comes to things. Ronnie Coleman is a Christian at heart too. Yeah. He also talks about Christ the whole time as well too. Phil Heath is on Twitter all the time talking about Christian ethics, and he's actually a staunch conservative as well too.
I didn't know Phil. Yeah, I didn't know Phil Heath. I knew that Ronnie was a Christian, and I didn't know that first.
Phil
guy
Heath is a staunch conservative and also a Christian as well too. Now, what kind of Christian is neither here nor there. The fact that they mention Christ's name on social media and that Christ is king, Christ is God, all this rhetoric, I think that this is extremely important. Now, mind you, I don't know, like I haven't fact checked this, but to my knowledge, I think I'm the only Orthodox IFBB pro bodybuilder on the planet right now that you're talking to right now. I don't think that there's another Orthodox pro bodybuilder. So I think in order for me to represent Christ, I don't think it's bad for me to represent Christ in this arena, especially when it gives me outlets to shake hands, do sign autographs to kids. I've done this. I've been in lines that were long and have been hungry. And I was like, I'm signing this other autograph and all this. And like, I've waited till the last person to sign an autograph to wrap around the block for store openings, things like I've done all this. I've traveled to expos, done pictures with people, all this. But I think when I'm doing this, I utter Christ's grace to people. Like I talk about Christ outwardly to people. I think that this is extremely important. Absent any of this, I think, yes, bodybuilding can be bad for the the wrong purposes. Think about a gun. The people that make a gun aren't killers because it just depends on what the gun's used for. They're just gun manufacturers. I'm a body manufacturer. I'm manufacturing a body. You would then have to ask the person to what purpose that they're using this body for. And clearly you've already stated what I'm using the body for, to glorify Christ. And I would say that the leaders and the people that are leading the movement, winning the Olympia, Derek Lunsford, Ronnie Coleman, Phil Heath, are mentioning Christ's name. I think that that's good, and still haven't heard a moral argument against this.
Yeah, no, I that's awesome. Like, I honestly didn't know that Phil Heath, because I know of Phil Heath, but I guess, would you agree then that if you are a bodybuilder, whether you're on PEDs or not, let's just not even, if you're a bodybuilder and let's say you're a secularist bodybuilder or an atheist bodybuilder, would you agree then that bodybuilding is just even though, yes, I will concede that there's still, even if you are an atheist bodybuilder, yeah, you still have to put in the work, put in the effort, put in the dedication, the time. Would you then agree that if you're not doing it for the glory of God, then you are really just kind of doing it for your own self? It is just kind of a lifestyle based in vanity and just worshiping one's own self, worshiping one's own body and accomplishments, and not necessarily doing it as an act of suffering, as an act of suffering for God.
So here's the thing, though, is like, I don't think that, because to me, I think that when you're suffering and doing things, I think that it just depends on what context we're talking about. Now, I think it mirrors Christian principles because I fast. Right? I suffer. I deny my flesh all the time. People ask me to go to, like, whether or not I'm invited to a bar mitzvah. That'll never happen, by the way, too. So like, if I'm asked to go to birthday parties, I turn that down. I don't drink. So bodybuilding is kind of antithetical to drinking. It's kind of antithetical to smoking weed because that actually increases estrogen as well, too. We don't want that. So if you're living a lifestyle for bodybuilding, it kind of forces you in a funnel of reclusion from society, which means no partying, no drinking, no sex, no rec drugs, and all this other stuff, because what that's going to do is blunt performance. I think that if you're not honed as far as like this focal point of trying to win, which means you're denying your flesh, which Christ asks you to do all the time, you're actually staying away from being an alcoholic, which Christ would ask you to do with excess and things like that. I think actually it's actually honing you into a space where you want to be, with suffering, sacrifice. And if you don't have Christ, you're not going to be the best at this. Matter of fact, the people that win, because you're saying, well, what if secularists does this? Well, the people that are winning are definitely Christian repeatedly. They're consistently Derek Lunsford, Ronnie Coleman, Phil Heath. All these are champions. And if you notice something that's very fundamental in bodybuilding, the people that are consistently winning aren't Christians. Isn't that odd?
What, that are consistently not winning or winning?
The people that are winning are Christian. And here's the other thing. We can conflate this with other sports too, because if you're an MMA fighter, we can even conflate this with other sports. And we could say that MMA is not Christian at all. Matter of fact, that's more gay. You have a mount. You have a full mount on top of another guy. You have a choke. You're choking another dude out. Like, it's like, so we could talk about how gay that is. And then we could also talk about other things too. Like, that's inflicting violence on another person. Now, intentionality means a lot about this when it comes to this. Now, if we're making an argument that's a gun argument for why guns bad, because you can use this to save a life or actually take a life away, we can use MMA as the grounds to, like, meaning on certain grounds to say you can use these skills to defend your family at home. And we can make an argument for why we could demonize this too. Now, think about this. You made arguments against performance enhancing drugs and things like that. I would argue that creatine is a manufactured product. We can argue that B12 vitamins are manufactured product and all this, but it's such a broad element to even attack when it comes to steroids. And I know I threw like two different things at you right now, but let's get back to this. I think that you're making an argument for everything else around bodybuilding if it's not Christian, but bodybuilding itself does not go against Christian ethics. And I've yet to hear an argument against bodybuilding itself. We can demonize steroids and everything else. Matter of fact, I don't really think steroids are that bad, because actually it's the same gun argument to where steroids can actually help and enhance people's lives, because there's anti-aging clinics popping up everywhere because testosterone's plummeting, you know, all this other stuff. And I would agree that there's bad steroids, but we're talking about primarily tests and stuff like that. We can make an argument for other sports and stuff like that and say that they're bad, but also it just depends on your intention with how you use this. A gun can be bad or good depending on how you use this.
Yeah. So, couple points there. One, you know, now that I'm thinking about it in real time, you could, you know, I suppose you could make the same argument for any, because you brought up MMA, and it kind of got me thinking, like, whether it's MMA, if you're a professional, whatever, football player, basketball player, you could, I guess, like, you could argue that, well, if you're a professional basketball player and if you're an atheist or a secularist, and, you could kind of make the same argument that, well, even though you have accomplished greatness, did you do it for your own glory or for the glory of God? So that's fair. My thing, I guess, my whole thing is just the not. And again, I also said in my opening that I don't have a problem. If you want to bodybuild, I don't have a problem. I think people should be in good shape. I think I want to get, in good shape. I want to, develop some more muscle, right? But again, I think I don't have a problem with that. And I think we're supposed to. And I think as Christians, you are called to take care of your body, to be in good physical health. I just have a problem with once it gets to the point where now you're injecting, and to be fair, it's a good point, like with creatine.
Bodybuilding. You basically just conceded the whole debate right there and said bodybuilding good, but
well, no, but in my opening,
you're not supposed to concede in the middle of the whole debate. We have time left over. You can concede like later on. You know that, right?
Well, in my opening though, I did state that if you are, if we're not talking about PEDs, you're just bodybuilding, like actually just. Not even, let's just say, no, not even creatine, right? You're just eating your egg whites every morning. You're eating healthy. You're eating natural protein. You're building muscle naturally. I don't have a problem with that. It's the actual bodybuilding where, like, you want to go amateur and then you want to eventually get your pro card and move on from there. You are going to be at some point doing PEDs, and I'm just my contention though is just that, again, I'm having trouble. And again, I understand this is a fallacy. And so it is something that I maybe need to work on a little bit. But one thing I did want to kind of circle back to, not to divert this, but you said that there was a myth about bodybuilders dying young notoriously. You said that
Yes, I can address that. But first of all, you said let's go through with the fallacy, which is crazy to even admit to say this after you just conceded the whole debate. But you know what? I'll entertain this further. When I talked about that, let me elaborate and elucidate on this further. When you talked about the deaths and people dying, it's not because of steroids. When people do tests and things like this, I've looked at autopsy reports and done podcasts later on about this and done interviews on certain bodybuilding podcasts and fitness forums. I've even been interviewed by magazines about all this stuff. I don't think it's the steroids, and you can even look this up too. It's usually what people do when they're bodybuilding as far as the food. So when people die, it's because of heart issues, because they eat too many burgers and too much junk and things like this. The thing that clogs your arteries isn't going to be steroids. It's going to be the French fries that you think you can get away with. When you're eating in bodybuilding, we eat in excess to the point to where we're trying to make our bodies into something formidable that will compete against other nations, maybe like a detractor in another nation from Spain, things like this. So it's like, if we're doing this, we have an off season. In the off season, people don't control themselves, and they're going against Christian principles when they do this by not denying self. They're going to eat 4 cheeseburgers because they need to gain weight and stuff like this, when they could have did this with just I would say chicken, rice, and things like that. Just eat more chicken and rice. And I'll tell people this all the time. They're just doing it wrong. Now, we can do Formula One racing or anything else. If you do Formula One racing and you take a turn too late or something like that, you crash in a blaze. If you're doing a UFC fighter move or something like that, and you want to flaunt a little bit, you might get knocked out because you're taunting your opponent too long. Or even in wrestling, Vic can even attest to this. If you're doing something and you haven't rehearsed it to a T, you could break your neck. The person that flew from the top rope, I forgot his name, Benoit, things like this. If you don't practice things properly and deny flesh and have enough discipline, bad can happen. But it's not because of steroids. It's because of excess of other things that people don't control themselves or deny their own flesh from.
So bodybuilders aren't, it's because of their dieting. It's not because they might be overusing or abusing PEDs.
No, it's not. It's not because of that. It's because of, so if you think about PEDs, they're only like 5% of the population. And I'll ask you a question right now. And this goes to like performance enhancing. Let's say that I dropped a box of like $5,000 worth of growth hormone, steroids, and everything else at every American's doorstep. And I said, I need everybody. And I was the president of the United States, and we're all going to compete against other nations. And regardless, and I have an authoritarian rule. And I say, everybody's going to use PEDs to become the best pro bodybuilder on the planet. Do you think there still would be only 1% of pros in the league?
If you said that, say that again.
Let's say I gave everybody $5,000 worth of drugs in the nation. Do you think we would still only have 1% of pro bodybuilders in the league?
I think so, because bodybuilding is not something that it takes a massive amount of discipline and dedication. So I think, if you gave,
it's not the steroids. Okay. So now we've thrown that out.
No. Hang on a minute though. I was asking, it's not true that bodybuilders are dying at a very young age because they're overusing or abusing the steroids, and it's because of their dieting, their bad dieting. That's your argument?
No, well, that's the thing, though, is like, if we're talking about people dying at a massive rate, I don't think that this differs from normal society, people dying from heart attacks because they're eating Arby's every day or Jack in the Box or McDonald's every day. That's really what's killing pro bodybuilders, is the food. And because we're not adhering to strict principles. Think about this. And I'll even tell you this aftermath. Let's say that you were like 13 years old, and I'll give you a good hypothetical about this. 13 years old, and you haven't eaten candy in your life. Meanwhile, like, you wait till 30 years old, and there's like a rites of passage for every guy here. And Cool Vic is at the door. He's a big bouncer with his big buff muscles, and he's at this door, and he says, you can't come into this candy store until you're 30 years old. Do you think people would have a good temperament when it came to eating candy for the first time? Do you think people would restrain themselves?
Probably not. I mean,
probably not. So if we're dieting for a long period of time and we eat a cheeseburger after 9 months, do you think there could possibly be a problem with adhering to like cholesterol values and things like that and limiting ourselves? It's kind of tough, right? It would be. You could imagine this, right?
Yeah. So you mean that, like,
right?
Bodybuilder-
So this could, would you not agree that this could possibly be adding and be the main antithesis to good health, eating a lot of junk processed foods that we're deprived from eating clean for years and months on end?
Sure, but I mean,
Right.
I think it's, and again, I mean, I'd have to, I guess, do more research on it, but I mean, it's just, so the bodybuilder, and is that conclusive? Like you said that these bodybuilders, like, is that conclusive that these bodybuilders are actually dying, in fact, because of, but what did you not agree?
Because if you look at the causation, they're dying of like coronary heart disease, things like this. A lot of these are because of blocked passages. A lot of this is cholesterol. You don't get cholesterol from injections. You don't get cholesterol from anything else but cholesterol. And where does cholesterol come from? From ingestion of foods and things like that.
Okay. Yeah. So then in that case, what would be, because it's not, because obviously you don't have a moral objection to using PEDs. So in that scenario, let's just go with that. Let's just say that these pro bodybuilders, they're just dropping like flies, because it's not because of the PEDs, it's because of their poor diet and consuming too many cheeseburgers. So what would your prescription be to tackle that issue?
So I do want to preface this a little bit. The reason why most pro bodybuilders die, and you can even look this up, is the reason why the league banned, I would say, diuretics. Diuretics are the thing that's banned, and we get tested for diuretics. Like, I would say water pills and things like that, water injections. I forgot what the two are called, but that kills more bodybuilders than anything else, which is why the league went on to ban this. And a part of the federation in the league that I'm in right now, it's like they ban everybody from doing this. Derek Lunsford can't use this. Ronnie Coleman couldn't use this, these diuretics and things like that, because that's actually killed people in the past. When it comes to steroids, there hasn't been a single person listed on record that's like an overdose of testosterone that died because of this. It's usually because of malformations due to like food, cholesterol ingestion, things like this. When it comes to dietary intake, a lot of people abuse food. So when we talk about abuse of steroids, we need to delineate what abuse is. Is it like the use of certain things according to industry knowledge? Is that abuse? Well, to the normal layman, that could be abuse, but he doesn't push his body to the ends of the earth like we do. So there's a big distinction to be had here.
Okay. But again, so like what would be if we are going to go with like, okay, let's say I concede to that. Yes, the bodybuilders, they're not dying because of the PEDs. They're not necessarily abusing the PEDs because we haven't really established a criteria for what abusing steroids is. It's like, okay, fair, but they're dying because of their diet, their poor diet. So again, like what would be, from your perspective as a professional bodybuilder, what would be your perspective to kind of minimize this trend of bodybuilders dying at a young age because of their dietary intake?
That would be food. I think that we would need to go ahead and just have like an education as far as like the industry standards for the league, because food is the thing that surrounds everything. It's like I knew a kid that took all the steroids in the world and only gained like 5 pounds of water. And then when he got off, he lost all that. And I said, you see what you did there right there? You just spent a lot of money and you pissed it down the toilet. That's because you need to work your ass off and you need to eat right. He ate a Snickers bar, went home and thought it was going to be magic juice. It doesn't work like that. Matter of fact, one of my best friends in the industry was going to come here and train with me. I don't know if you know who Rich Piana is.
Oh yeah.
I called him Frankenstein all the time. I just made fun of this guy. I talk shit to him all the time. But it's like he called me shit all the time. He talked shit to me all the time. But it's like we had this good relationship. But it's like I knew that he was using other drugs, like rec drugs, nothing to do with bodybuilding outside of the industry. His wife even complained about this to stop. And I don't want to put all of his business out here. But it's like I know all these people in the industry. I know Kai Green. I have a 20-minute interview with him at Super League and all this other stuff. When I talk about these bodybuilders dying, it's because they're using coke. They're using people get into meth and all this other stuff because it's like it's such a reclusive lifestyle that you don't have a social life. Think about this. If you're going to turn pro, you might as well delete your social life. And now when you're reclusive, you're left with yourself, and absent Christ, I think anything can go bad, especially when you're alone with yourself, with your own voices in your head, and all you have is the gym and this effort, and all you see is your eye on the prize of a competition. Like, so much can go bad with that. But I think that if you have Christ in your life and you match this and mirror this with bodybuilding, I think things can go great, because in Orthodox, I'm pretty sure you know that we fast. Well, yeah. What's akin to fasting? Dieting for long stretches of time, eating chicken and vegetables. So bland, man. I'd rather put my head in the oven to do cardio, but I do this anyways. All this suffering that I do and everything else, it's like, once again, this goes back to the moral argument. Even if I do steroids and do this other stuff, which I don't touch, because but mind you, and I'll even say this, I have an autoimmune disorder, so that when I use equipoise or anything else like that in the past, I bled out. I have ulcerative colitis, and my body rejects it so bad that it almost killed me one time. So I didn't use that. I'm getting ready to qualify for the Olympia again as an athlete and represent the United States as probably the only Orthodox pro bodybuilder in the league. And I think that that's admirable for me to do so. But I think in order for us to do this and defeat these secularists, Orthodox people need to step up to the mantle and represent to some degree if they have the skill and God-given ability to do so. And I don't think this slaps God in the face by any regard.
So, said a lot there.
Sorry, I can go on tangents.
No. It's all good. I kind of lost my train of thought for a second, but yeah. So getting back to the dieting part of it, right? Oh, I wanted to ask you. So I know that as Orthodox, you do have fasting days. So when you're in the middle of your training, because I know from my understanding, Wednesdays and Fridays are typically the fasting days where you're not allowed to have dairy or meat. So when you're training, and this is one of the reasons why, this is another aspect of why I think it kind of contradicts Christian teachings if we're talking about orthodoxy, because you do have fasting days. And then I know that it's not just the Wednesdays and Fridays, but then there's like other times during the year where you have to have a prolonged fast. So as an Orthodox, how do you circumvent that? How do you circumvent that when you have to be, bulking up on your meats, dairies, right? All the proteins.
You have to be inventive and creative. I feel like since you basically conceded the whole debate, this turned into a bodybuilding interview sponsored by Cool Vic and the Cool Verse, and definitely not the anal verse here. But going into this, I say, Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me, a sinner, because I'm going to suffer. So when it comes to me not having to eat dairy and things like that, yeah, I'm going to suffer even more, and it's going to hurt even worse as far as like me suffering. So I have to do my job. I have to do debates, things like this, streams. And there's like a lot of things I do. I help. So as a pro bodybuilder, there's no way I could help underprivileged schools by helping build their gyms, which I'm doing right now. We're working on a third gym right now where I'm getting them like 45-pound plates plates, whether or not it's a yard sales, things like this.
Martae, hang on though.
Yeah, go ahead.
So when you're in the middle of your training and it's a Wednesday or Friday and you have to eat a certain amount of protein, like meat proteins, right? Or dairy products. How do you said that you just, you say the Jesus prayer and then,
let me answer that. So there's supplements, which you would say performance enhancing supplements that I'll use, whether or not this is grass-fed, whey protein, things like that, that aren't milk-based, because they take all the dairy out of this.
Okay.
There's other isolates that we would take, things like that. So supplementation, which is definitely like, if you would say performance enhancing, that's why it's an all-encompassing umbrella when you talk about a broad term, like, just performance enhancing PEDs. This could be creatine. So I would actually take more creatine there in those days, take more water, and I would be a little bit more strict when I come to doing this, because if I'm not going to eat meat, dairy, and other things like this, I'm going to supplement. Definitely not with soy. That's bad because there's phytoestrogens. I could educate you on all this, but yeah, that's hopefully the answer to your question.
Do you think that steroids? So I just want to make sure I understand it. So as far as you're concerned, there is no moral objection from an Orthodox Christian standpoint to using steroids, performance enhancing drugs. Would you make that same argument for coke, heroin, things like this?
So for that, you would have to look at the outcomes. Like for coke, the bad thing about this is, like, I understand what you're saying right now, but it's like we're thinking about drugs. Right? Medically supervised steroids are just like tools, like modern medicine. James 5:14 mentions this, like anointing, right? And before it sounds too ridiculous for you to counter, all this is just optimizing God's gift responsibly, not unethical excess, but wise progress. I don't think that you could use coke to like create progress in any regard that's unsupervised, because I can go to my doctor and here's the thing though, another way to mitigate your other question too is to also get blood panels. I think that with modernity, with medicine, we can get blood panels on this and get testosterone prescribed by a doctor. You can't get prescribed coke by a doctor that I know of. Maybe I could be wrong about this, or meth by a doctor, unless it's
Adderall, Ritalin.
Right, you can get these things, but understand it's prescribed by a doctor. But even then, that's not even a moral argument. If it's prescribed by a doctor and it's through legal, ethical use, and remind you, I'm saying ethical, right? Because that word's doing a lot of the heavy lifting here. We're using ethical use for progress towards the greater good, and the greater good would be the fundamental foundation of my Christian ethics. If we're using this to bolster Christian ethics, and this lets me get into schools to talk to kids, mentor other people, I don't think that that's a moral argument that you can even reconcile. That's bad.
So from what I understand you're saying is that steroids, PEDs, as long as they're being used responsibly in a knowledgeable way where you know what you're doing, you know about the dosages, you know about your body and you know what's going on with you personally, all your health conditions, as long as you're having these steroids administered by a professional, or maybe yourself, or kind of an expert in administrating the right amount of doses, that it's completely fine, safe, moral, and no objection as far as Christianity.
No objection. I don't think that there's anything moral that you could say about that. I mean, think about scripture. When we're using our body as a temple, all we're doing is having a better throne for our soul to sit on. And to me, I don't think that I could bodybuild and then say it's only restricted to the stage. And I want you to think about this kind of like as a take home. When I bodybuild, I'm only on stage for like 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes in front of a crowd of thousands of people. But everything else is like, doesn't make the highlight reel. Me on the treadmill at 3 o'clock in the morning, suffering as everybody's asleep. None of that I show people. Me trying to stuff down dry chicken at like 4 o'clock for the 15th time and all this. It's like so much suffering just for 2 minutes. So bodybuilding is a conglomerate of more than just that. It's mostly discipline and only 2 minutes of highlight reel, to be honest with you.
Sure. Yeah. So, but you would be against minors, right? Anybody other, like, what would be, in your opinion, what would be the an appropriate age, I guess, if you're actually serious about bodybuilding, you want to pursue it as a career, go pro, get that card. in your opinion, what would be the appropriate age to start using PEDs?
Once again, because the debate's over, we could proceed with this bodybuilding interview. So, yeah, I would say that the recommendation would be probably like way past puberty, because we have a kid called Richard Sandrak. I don't know if you remember him. He looked like the buff Conan when he was like a little kid. And that kid has a surfer bod right now. But they've had complaints and said, well, this could malform the kid's development and all this. Well, he's a perfectly fine individual now. So I don't really think that there's an argument even against that. But I would say, as far as like drug use, PEDs, things like that, even creatine has its limitations when it comes to being used by minors, things like that. I would say that even and I'm being real mild when I talk about this, because I want to just educate you a little bit. Whenever you're eating red meat, you're eating creatine, because creatine comes from red meat as well, too. Yeah, so if you want to get your creatine production up, increase your amount of lean red meat that you're eating. And this is going to help a whole lot. So kids are eating PEDs by your standard, if we're talking about creatine, and kids at 13 hit puberty. So the amount of steroids, i.e. testosterone, is at the max level. So I would say that kids are using more PEDs than adults naturally. But that's the thing, though, is if you're an adult, here's the thing I would say. There's certain ways that you could eat to increase testosterone output. There's less plastics you can do just by changing your lifestyle. And bodybuilding does that. So for a Christian ethicist that wants to continue on this train of thought and wants to become more Christ-like, I think denying your flesh is a good thing. And this is something that sounds like a closing statement right now. Denying your flesh and actually restricting yourself from excess is actually a good thing. And I think society as a prescription would do well to follow this mantra of some of the things that we emulate from bodybuilding. I think it's good. We're going the way of the dinosaur, where we're becoming too fat to run away from molten volcanoes or any disaster that happens. Like, you're going to be out of breath to even help back me up. That's where America's moving right now. Bodybuilding is the antithesis of
this. I don't know if maybe I just didn't catch that, but what age is appropriate for a person to start using? And again, also I want to say though, I suppose technically, if we're talking about, eating red meats, sure, you can say that's a form of PED, but it's like, I mean, there has to be a distinction made between eating like some steak and taking actual, PEDs. I think that's fair to kind of point out. But yeah, if you want to say that eating red meat is a form of PED, it's like, okay, but I mean, there is a difference. So again, what would be...
Not much. Because here's the thing, though. If I want to take out of creatine, I'm just going to eat 5 more ounces of red meat.
Well, wait a minute. Then if there's no difference, would you be okay with a 14-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 12-year-old doing PEDs as opposed to eating a steak?
Well, according to your train of logic, if we were to expound upon that, a steak is a form of creatine, which is a PED. So if it's performance enhancing, and we can use this and we take this and call it a drug. Matter of fact, the FDA was going to call vitamin C a drug. So if we talk about drugs, it's like that's a very broad analysis that you're giving us. It's like food is now a drug by the FDA to some degree.
Okay, so then you wouldn't have an issue with a 12-year-old taking creatine as opposed to eating some steak?
I would not be opposed to 12-year-olds taking creatine.
Interesting. Okay, fair enough. And there's no, and so what about just full on PEDs then? Just what about full on like
when you say steroids? PEDs, can you elaborate on PEDs and say
whatever? Okay,
that is?
That's fair. So PEDs, I'm talking about basically like anabolic steroids, where you're literally injecting things. You're literally injecting steroids in order to basically grow muscle. Basically, push beyond your natural limits, right? That's what I guess, to be a little bit more specific, it's performance enhancing drugs that push your complete, right? Because it's like, yeah, if you eat steak, right? If your diet is like actual, natural proteins like steak, chicken, whatever, eggs, you are going to grow, because again, it is a type of PED, right? Performance enhancing drug.
So isn't that what you said? I'm going to push back a little bit on that.
Well, hang on. If it is that, right? But you can only get so far. You can only grow muscle so far just by, like, you're going to, at some point, you're going to hit the wall as far as, the individual. Now, obviously, genetics plays a big role, because genetics, that's the other thing, is genetics plays a huge role in bodybuilding, right?
Massive.
Right. So that's the other thing, is that, Yeah, you can. Yeah, if you want to categorize steak as a form of PED, it's like, okay, fine, but you're only going to get so far. Even if you're training perfectly, you're absolutely dedicated, you're absolutely disciplined, there's going to come a point where you're not going to be able to grow more. Is that's not true?
That's not exactly true. So as a lightweight, and I don't know if anybody's able to replicate this, what I've done in the past, but you can actually Google this. I won the Cal as an amateur lightweight against super heavyweights and heavyweights naturally. That's not supposed to be done. This is like David and Goliath nowadays.
But again, genetics plays a huge role in that, though. You have the genetics.
Huge, but here's the thing, though. Naturally, I did this. It takes a genetic freak to turn pro, first of all. So for me to do this, matter of fact, Jay Cutler took me out to dinner afterwards. And it was like the first time I met the guy, and I was like, bro, I've been a fan of it. But he took me out because he saw potential in me. He said, I didn't even see the rest of the performance and anything. I already knew who won this, and I'm like, you knew that a lightweight beat super heavyweights and everybody else. I was a giant killer. Still am, by the way. So this is the thing that we're going to get into. Genetics is such a huge thing. And steroids, when we talk about performance, like, let's say what it is, because you keep using PEDs. Let's call them steroids or, synthetic pharmaceutical drugs, things like that. Let's be a little bit more accurate, because steak can be a PED, because steak is rejected that from the US, is rejected from Australia, from China. Our meats are rejected because they're filled with so much chemical sludge now that other countries reject our meat. It's not even the same meat that we have. So it's like, if you're talking about performance enhancing, there's so many steroids pumped full of our meats. It's crazy. You see women growing with facial hair now. They're overdeveloped now growing up. That's because we're injecting so much of this stuff in our food. So it's like, that's why I called steak a PED to some degree. But back to this, I think that for us,
but when you're training, I'm sorry to cut you off, Martae, but
go ahead.
When you're training for your like when you're training as a bodybuilder, I would be willing to bet, and I would be willing to bet that you're not eating the whatever the chemical injected. I would be willing to bet that you're eating very naturally grass fed, not
all the time,
but I would say most of the time that's probably what you're doing, right,
bro? My food bill,
I know it's expensive. Oh yeah, I know.
My food bill is like $1,500 a month just for this.
I know,
retarded.
But if you were able to, if you didn't have the budget restraint, I would be willing to bet that all of it you wouldn't be eating like the cheap, chemical injected meat. You would be eating all, because that's even better, right? I mean, it is. So I mean, it's fair to kind of make that make that clarification.
Well, let me make a clear distinction when we're talking about food and bodybuilding, because I want to stay on topic here.
Yeah.
When I go to work, and when I've worked jobs in the past, I've also done myopractic work. I work at a pain clinic, and then I do other jobs right now, going through school right now. I've eaten out of Tupperware containers in front of coworkers and everybody else. I get comments, oh, you brought Walmart with you again and all this. I get demonized all the time. What do Christians get? They get persecuted all the time, demonized all the time, because they're following a constraint to a discipline. And secularists do this all the time. You even say secularists make fun, throw stones all the time, and hide behind brick walls all the time. And this is what they do. But in conjecture, in modern day and times, what people do is they talk shit to you. They're like, oh, you brought Walmart. Oh, you brought enough for all of us. Like, I've heard all of this. Meanwhile, guess what happened? We are taught to kind of exemplify Christ's values and kind of like have the world kind of emulate this to some degree. Guess what's happened? I have 4 coworkers at one job that changed their diet because of this. 2 coworkers at another job that actually lost weight because of this, because they're like, damn, I've been doing what Martae does. I can't do it strictly what he does because I don't have the discipline, but I've been trying. And I lost weight. One is no longer diabetic. And then one lost so much weight that he now does marathons now, which is crazy. So to me, it's like, would you not say that Christianity and the ethics you want to see should be displayed for everybody else to follow in the world?
If you mean with regards to
ethics, we would want other people to mirror this, right?
Mirror
as far as denying our flesh, improving our diet, and to kind of treat our temple better, right?
Sure, but I would argue that when it comes to bodybuilding, are you actually? Let's get into the denying the flesh. When you say you're denying the flesh, can you expand on it a little bit?
So denying the flesh, like, there's a lot of humility, and we're suffering with a purpose. As the elite 1% IFBB pro, I pray to God before lifting heavy weights amid the risk of like injury and all this other stuff. I'm denying a lot of pleasure. There's no pleasure with 500 pounds on my back, eating like my fifth meal, hoping that I can keep this food down and doesn't upchuck at the base of this squat that I'm doing. That's not pleasurable at all. I know that I have to bring this weight up and I have to pray to God and say, hey, we're still on good terms, right? So this doesn't break my spine, injure my kneecaps or anything like that. And the bar's bending and people in the gym are like, oh shit, this looks crazy.
So
like,
I'm hearing all this. That's why you need the spotters, right? Got the spotters.
I don't, people are too afraid to spot you on 500 pounds. They're too terrified to get underneath there with me. So I have to do this by myself. And I'm like, and I have conversations with God all the time.
You got to get Andrew and Rachel. You got to get Andrew and Rachel to spot you. Because they're, I know they're into the.
They're not flying from Texas from where they're at right now. So here's the thing though. I have to have a constant conversation with Christ when I'm in the gym. And I'm pretty sure Derek Lunsford, Rodney Coleman did this all the time. We are denying our flesh because I'd rather be at home eating Funyuns and watching my favorite horror flick. Instead, I have to put myself under persecution under the crucifix of all this lactic acid and suffering underneath this weight. That's point one. Point two is I go to work and I smell cheeseburgers and I smell everything from break rooms that in this pain clinic I work with, and I have to eat this chicken and rice. And I'm like, oh, I wish I can't do that. I see my boys on the weekend drinking around a campfire, can't drink because that's poison to our bodies. That's anti-muscle juice that we're drinking. It's literally what it is. So that's 3 point. The other point of denying our flesh is like when I'm putting on all this muscle and everything like that, like I don't like hearing all these comments and scrutiny from people. Yet, guess what I'm doing? I'm fighting a society that's constantly telling me to eat junk all the time and to fall prey into my indulgences. And now I have to fight all this by being an example. Now I'm changing hearts and minds of people by being this bodybuilder that denies his flesh.
But after competition, though, and you kind of alluded to this earlier, after competition, once that competition is over, do you have a tendency? Like, because I know that there are a lot of bodybuilders, and not just bodybuilders, but I know that like fighters, for example, whether it's UFC fighters, boxers, once they've done their weigh-in, they have a tendency to just like, or after a fight or something like that. But let's just stick with bodybuilding. Let's not get off topic. After bodybuilding, after your competition, have you ever found yourself just completely gorging and just being a complete glutton because you haven't been able to have a cheeseburger or a cheese pizza after like several months, and you just completely devour everything in sight?
I'm glad you said that. According to our Christian ethics, we're going to stumble. When I first started bodybuilding and started winning shows, I was undefeated for 5 years in 3 different weight classes naturally before I even touched a drug. And what happened is I fell prey to that you're talking about right now. In the beginning walk of our Christian walk that we have, and even you could say this, turning into a Christian and even inquiring, you're going to stumble a couple times. And this is with anything. As a UFC fighter, you're going to stumble and learn lessons. But guess what happens? You start improving yourself because you understand inevitably you're going to be on a battlefield and you can be your own worst enemy, and you could also be implicit in your own destruction. I ate cheeseburgers and all this other stuff and found out that not only did I gain 25 pounds the night after or 30 pounds the next day, this is taxing on your heart and everything else like this. We learn from this because we don't want to create arrhythmia and all these other issues. And then we start tapering this. All this is just a learning experience, just like we sin every day. You want to have a reduction of sin and self-harm. We learn this. This is just a trial of being human because we're not perfect, but we strive for theosis and perfection in Christ. And that's what we're doing. I made mistakes. You do too.
Sure, yeah,
nobody's
absolutely.
Perfect, but I've become better over time.
That's fair. Yeah, I can agree to that. I can understand that. So yeah. Honestly, man, I'm fine leaving it there. Like, honestly, like you, and like I said from the very beginning, this is not a hill that I'm willing to die on. Okay. I think that there are far more important battles that we need to be fighting. But those are actually very, and like you said in the beginning, you were going to be, this is going to be, a battle for me anyway. And you did bring up a lot of good points, and there's definitely points there that I have to a certain degree, I do have to concede to a lot of the points that you said. But there are things though that I still would like to take time. I'm not saying that I'm not conceding or that I fully agree with you, but there are things that I want to, a lot of the stuff I'd like to maybe like rewatch this again and kind of really give some more thought about the points that you brought up as far as my objections, because it is interesting. It is interesting. Some of the stuff that you said, I wasn't expecting exactly, but they were interesting, and there are things that I'd like to. I just like to take some more time and maybe like think a little bit more critically about, and just see if I still am going to stand stand firm on my position, or if I'm just like, no, you know what, Martae actually has it. But I will say though, as far as the performance enhancing drugs, the anabolic steroids, I think it is something that I'd be willing to concede on based on the way that you presented. But again, we have to, this is coming from an Orthodox Christian perspective, right? So, and like I said in my opening, I think that if you are an Orthodox Christian, which, you happen to be,
I'm a catechumen, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get baptized on the 5th, y'all. So just remember,
nice, man.
praise
awesome.
God. Yeah.
On the 5th?
Yeah, I get baptized on the 5th. It's been 2 years as a catechumen, and you just don't go up to the Orthodox church and get like a dunk, and then they give you like a coffee because there's a coffee shop right next to the tank. It's not one of those things.
That's one of the reasons why I don't want to see my biggest thing. And I know we're completely derailed now, but I mean, at this point, I don't know. I'm cool with kind of wrapping. I don't know what your thoughts are, Martae.
I will say this though. When you say things like, I'll concede most of the debate, and then you say things like, this isn't a concession. It's
well, like, okay, fair enough.
And then, hold on.
Okay, go for it.
Hold on. And then I will say this: it's not a hill you're willing to die on, but it's definitely a hill you're willing to concede on, which is the same thing. I don't understand what the difference would be, but anyways, go on with you were talking about. Let's continue.
I guess
I was just gonna say that actually has been an hour now, so perfect time to leave it at that.
Yeah, just to wrap it up, I guess what I want to say is that the arguments that you presented, I thought I brought up some good, some fair points, some fair arguments, but at the end of the day, I think I can't just. I guess what I mean is that I'd like to take some more time and actually like really think about it, but I do have to concede, what you were saying, because what you said, as far as your counter arguments, they were logical as far as the way that you presented it. So I do have to be, good faith and say, yes, I do have to concede to your arguments. But again, it's because I was saying that this is not a hill that I'm willing to die on, but it is something that, maybe I will do some more thinking about. And, perhaps in the future, like if I be like, something, fuck that. I want to have this debate again. And I do believe that it is in fact against Christian ethics, then I will directly DM you immediately. But
to be consistent for your attempt, I'm just going to tell you for future warning.
No, so, that's why I said that. I mean, this is like this was just a fun debate for me to kind of really get comfortable with live debates, moderated debates, and so I can only be grateful. And like I said, obviously, a lot of the stuff that we talked about, it's way over my head as far as because you're the pro, you're the expert. So,
well, I'm more of a subject matter expert to this arena. So it's like you debating a 20-year veteran cop when you're a layman and you don't know anything about law enforcement and getting into this. I'm not saying you don't know anything. Of course, we can know substantive facts about things like that. But it's like, here's the thing, though, is like I'll even tell you this, and this is me throwing you a nugget here to kind of help you out. The train of thought I would have went on, because I could play devil's advocate on this, I would have went the vanity journey. I would have said, how is this not vain because you're unclothed? And how does this not bode well with modesty? Things like that. I would have went that argument, and I would have had a better, stronger point. And this is like, I don't really help people out like this to some degree. I would have had a stronger argument because there's less to actually kind of back up and me to defend myself when it comes to like saying, well, you're immodest when you show up on stage and only this amount of clothing. And it's like, there's kids in the audience, Martae. Don't you understand that? Do you think that men should go out of their house wearing clothes like this in front of kids? Do you think as a prescription for, like, I would have just tore myself up if I had a debate myself and there was a doppelganger? I would have went in on the vanity approach. I would have. There's so many different avenues where I think you kind of.
Well, yeah, sure, but
You want me to restart the hour? And you
could... Nah. Well, no, the reason I think because we initially, I think if I'm not mistaken, that was the initial prompt. That was, you know, bodybuilding is what was it? Is just vanity. But then we kind of, I think we kind of,
you could have picked it, but you could have actually went that way with this argument. So the whole thing with this debate was you were arguing against steroids, you were arguing against everything else except for bodybuilding. That's the problem with your argument. You tried, you did your best, and that was good, man. I appreciate you showing up for a show of force. Now it's time for me to dose volt against a Muslim that thinks that he can wife up his first cousins, which he will be demolished.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah. When is that going down?
That's going down. I gotta go look.
Yeah, I'll
brain fog right now.
Yeah, man. No, man. Yeah, that was great. I had a blast, man. I just want to set up some more.
Aftermath.
Yeah, go ahead.
Aftermath. Okay. Do you want to save that? We could go into the closing statements and then go into the Q&A.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So you guys have 5 minutes for your closing statements. And let's see, since Aftermath went first for the opening, we'll let Martae go first on this one. So whenever you're ready.
Okay, for my closing statement, my opponent could have went towards things like idolatry, towards vanity, towards excess. Not only this, but towards like the harm approach. He could have went towards like the part where it's unethical as a prescription for society, all this other stuff. Like he could have just went that route with me and I would have had a tougher time tangling with this. But instead, my opponent tried to bog me down on just PEDs, which is a broad term analysis for anything that enhances performance. And then when I asked for a definition, he said steroids. And then when I tried to look for a moral argument against that and kept asking about this, my opponent didn't give me one. So my opponent showed up today with not an argument. This ended up turning into one of my typical bodybuilder pro athlete interviews. That's what this turned into in a sense. And then my opponent ended up saying that he conceded, which I knew he conceded probably like 10 minutes into the debate, but I didn't want to call him out on that because of course in my humility and in my charitable nature, I'm just going to allow this so that way the debate can continue. But my hat's off to the Aftermath for his first debate that he wanted to go ahead and do. And the reason why I entertain this is because I want to kind of help him, give him that push, even if it's the destruction of his argument by my own hand. Good to me for doing this. Actually, okay, let me stop. That's a little bit vain. But anyways, my hat's off to Cool Vic for entertaining this debate. I think he's had 3 debates so far. Me too. Andrew Wilson won. Not saying that this is a competition, by the way. Anyways, I look forward to the next debate that I'll have against this. I don't want to call him a jihadist, but the guy's going to probably blow himself up on camera because he's going to spurg out so bad. My next debate will be on the Edge, OTE, my channel as the host, against people marrying their first cousins. Yes, that is a real prompt that I'm going to be debating. I concede my time, and I'll let the Aftermath close after that.
Yeah, so I actually, I'll be honest, I don't have a closing statement prepared. I will just say thank you to Martae, thank you to Cool Vic. Martae, this is obviously it was a debate, but I mean, I learned a lot. I really appreciate, and this is something that I really appreciate about guys like you, guys like Andrew, guys like Jim Bob, who we went head to head, and obviously, March season. We were having a debate, but you still had the integrity to be like, hey, listen, this is kind of how it would have went, if I were arguing your position. And there's some really good tips as far as, and some of the things that you mentioned, I kind of wanted to get into, but since I guess, we had kind of consolidated the debate prompt, maybe I just didn't really, think about really kind of going down that path. But those are actually really good suggestions for my position on this debate. So definitely things that, I could maybe do better next time. Not that I'm saying that necessarily will be a next time, because again, I'm far more interested in having the battle with, non-Christians, secularists, feminists. But no, man, I really appreciate you guys. And that's really all I have for my closing.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Aftermath, and thank you too, Martae. Yeah, that was a fairly good debate. Yeah, even though it did turn into more of an interview, I I actually kind of learned
I'll give
a lot
him an
too.
autograph after I'm done. By the way,
Yeah.
I can't. I'm just playing.
Yeah, but no, Aftermath though, for being your first time, I think you did a pretty solid job. It's not easy
I
to
appreciate
debate
that.
at all. Yeah, it's not easy to debate at all. So the fact that you stepped up and you're going up against Martae, nonetheless, you know, Martae is a pretty formidable opponent. So for him to be your first opponent, you did a pretty good job.
That's why I'm trying to. That's why I'm looking for people online who are a little bit, you know, a little bit on my level there. I've hit up a few people, so I'm trying to set up some debates with some, you know, some people that aren't, you know, that don't have like, you know, hundreds of debates under the belt. Somebody that's a little bit on, you know, on my thing. But, you know, again, like this was great. I feel much more comfortable kind of going into my, you know, next debate, whatever that'll be. So again, I can't have anything but gratitude.
So Aftermath, I will say this just for 1 minute. Don't underestimate anybody. So when you say my level, it could be the guy that's only done one college debate that could destroy the shit out of somebody who's very seasoned.
Yeah,
so
point.
To me, don't say like, throw the levels out of this. Picture everybody else. And I want you to imagine it like this. This argument that you have is your baby and you have to protect it. And that person just killed your whole family. Like, it's like, we have to envision it like this. Like, we can be friends again after this. That's why I said it's soon. And I'm going to speak in a language that Vic understands. When this cage closes, we're not friends. But when the cage opens again and the referee brings up a hand, we could be friends again after that. Every debate, I want you to imagine like this. And this is what it is. We're in the middle of an ideological war. These people want to tell your kids doctrine that's revised history. They want to tell your kids to be ashamed of being white. We have counterpoints arguing against this happening. We have people that are telling you that you should marry your first cousins, all this. I think that there's an ideological war to be had here, and we're moving the needle by using debate doing this. And Cool Vic is such a gracious host that he's allowing us to entertain the masses by educating them as well, too. That could be fence sitters as well.
Got it.
Oh yeah, bro.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go into the Q&A. So we'll do some of the $10 first. So this one's from Real Rain 89 for $10. Thank you very much, Real Rain. Regardless of debate outcome, this was a great topic that was very interesting. Aftermath, my recommendation is bodybuilding is modern day alchemy, which makes it against Christ. Any thoughts on that, Aftermath?
Modern day bodybuilding is modern day alchemy. I'm not even sure what you mean by alchemy. I
know what the chatter's talking about, though.
Yeah,
and I can actually address this.
Yeah.
So with bodybuilding being modern day alchemy, I would even go back to the construction worker. He's going to look differently inherently, or inevitably. I would say inevitably, not inherently. 5 years after doing construction on the job, thus looking like a whole different man, grizzled, probably more muscular after this, and hands hardened. We change ourselves daily. You're not the same person you were yesterday, let alone last week. We're constantly in flux of changing and moving and improvements. Whether or not we do this, you can then say the whole junk food argument of being a fat ass is modern day alchemy as well too. So it's like, to me, that really doesn't really reconcile the prompt at all, because if there's obese people and there's bodybuilders, there's alchemy everywhere that's happening. So it's like you would have to demonize everything else too, which puts it in the same boat.
All right.
Yeah,
I'd
never heard that term alchemy. I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, you know, people taking metals and then trying to turn it into gold. Alchemist. That was like old day alchemy. When people were trying to take these metals and these minerals and then trying to turn them into gold, that's alchemy. What they're referring to changing its nature to some degree.
Got it. Okay.
Cool. All right. Another one from Real Rain 89. Thank you very much for the $10. I would say there is a vanity aspect to all forms of bodybuilding, but also more self-esteem building. No one starts going to AA or the gym because they're winning in life. I don't know if any of you guys have anything to say on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I could see that point of view. So I don't know. What do you think about that, Martae?
Well, I would say that in order to say vanity, you would have to presuppose you know the mind of somebody before they get into an MMA ring or something like that, because we have all kinds of other suppositions here at play. Like, you could say that the person wants to learn self-defense from the bullies that bully him at school. You could say that this person loves Ken Shamrock and wants to be a wrestler just like him and maybe a UFC fighter because he looks up to him because there was an absentee father. Father figures appear also too. So it's like there's all kinds of different motivations. So to say that vanity insanity would be there would mean that you would have to assert and you would have to demonstrate that this is causational, that this is the pure reason why people do this, which it isn't true. And I can't assume the mind of other people why they do bodybuilding, because I have my own reasons to do this, because I just wanted to win. Winning is good. That's why I didn't want to. When you talk about this, it was like, well, I was already winning at life. I just wanted to win more. I don't know, which is what I did. So, yeah.
All right. So this is from Postal Joe. Not a question, just showing support. Thank you very much, Postal Joe, for the $10. Merry Christmas to you too.
Not bad.
And let's see.
Is that Seinfeld?
It looks, I think it is. It looks like Seinfeld.
Seinfeld wearing the police.
Yeah, it does.
You're going to laugh while getting cuffed up? That's crazy.
Yeah, I know, right? All right. So thank you, Postal Joe. This is from Real Rain 89. For $5, bodybuilding is such an umbrella term. If I'm a calisthenics athlete, I'm building my body. Is this debate about competitive bodybuilding?
Yes, it was about competitive bodybuilding. We'll say that. But nonetheless, this extends to building a body and the purpose of doing this. It's to compete, things like that. Yeah.
All right. This is, let's see. This is from William Wilson. Again, cool Vic verse. Thank you very much for the $5. This one just came in from World Radio 332 for $5. African/Arabs not partake of coffee was medicine not used to affect the body. The argument would be excess in this case, not the exposure. Martae W.
Yeah, I would say I would have went the excess route, but even then I would have refuted that easily too if you would have brought excess or anything like that, because bodybuilding, we take just the amount that we need for growth. Excess would imply danger, right? We could, like, let's say if I eat till my throat closed up, do you think that would cause harm? We all would say yes. Although I've almost done this at Golden Corral and all you can eat buffets before, but I've learned my lessons. Bodybuilding would teach you that excess is harmful because you definitely have health implications in regards to anything excess is bad. And bodybuilding is like, you're going to learn like just the right amount to stay in good, healthy dosages. That's why blood panels and all that is good. But yeah, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it.
Okay, let's see. And I think we have one more from World Radio 332 for $2. Quick question. Did David's Mighty Men not work out?
I don't even know what that was referring to.
So King David, right? Oh. Goliath, the people that were at his side. I'm pretty sure that there was some training to go into battle, things like this. Like even if we're talking about Samson from the biblical era, who probably looked like Hercules to some degree, knocking out what 500,000 people with the jaw of a donkey bone, things like that. So we would have to say he's definitely bad to some degree if we're going to demonize bodybuilding to some degree. Even if God just granted him all the strength and everything else like that, he emulated what people would strive to be. So people doing like 500 push-ups a day, things like this, to strive to be like his level. I think that's more of an embodiment of what we need America to go to. And I think that leans towards Christian ethics, because you have to have an insurmountable amount of discipline to even emulate that. First of all, one can't just turn into Samson. You have to become Samson to some degree.
That is true. All right. We got another one from Real Rain 89 for $5.
Man, Real Rain with the super chats.
Yeah, he's
making it rain.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So let's see. My argument, Martae, is alchemy is an intentional act. Overeating isn't necessarily. So bodybuilding being an intentional act makes it alchemy.
So that would be like, for me to improve my dunk or 3-point shooter, I'd have to probably, Kobe was cited as shooting like probably like 3,000 shots in the pouring rain once by his father. So you would say that that's excess, right? If we think about Formula One racing, we're going to lighten a vehicle so that way it could be smashed to smithereens and kill you in a cage even more. We're also, in order to have extreme performances to win in the degree of opposition, we would need to actually have some hyperbole here for examples to inspire other people. Thus, me being a real life action hero that kids can see when I go to schools and things like that, they would say that's probably like an overconsumption of something in their eyes, when really they don't know what happened behind the scenes. So we're also making an assumption too. So I don't think that even when we have the intention on winning, I don't think that makes it alchemy, because if we're going to practice in excess to overcome something, all that does is lead to glory in the end, because if there's no sin and there's no Satan, there can never be glory over anything else. And sin could be gluttony. This could be eating bad food and betraying and cheating on a diet and lying to your coach. That's sinful. So I think that all of this leads to glory in the end.
All right. Thank you very much, Martae. And that will, I believe that's it. There's no more questions. So there you go. Now, good job, both of you guys. I got to say, Martae, I didn't know some of the stuff about the steroid stuff. Like, I didn't know that the danger, like why there's heart failure and stuff at such a young age, is from the overeating.
Yeah, that was interesting. It's interesting stuff.
Yeah. I actually had no clue. I thought it was the steroids itself this whole time.
If you look at the autopsies of the people that die, a lot of this is related to food. It isn't, because you can't get cholesterol from a testosterone shot. You can't get any of this stuff. Cholesterol has to come from its source. The cholesterol's in the fries that are deep fried and all this. The reason why a lot of people are dying, if you think about the percentages of death in bodybuilding, it mirrors the deaths that happen societally. Fast food is killing more people than anything else, amongst everything from baby deletion and everything. Aside from all this, fast food is something that other countries have rejected. They've even rejected our meat, because, cool, Vic, you can't even look at this. We've synthesized our meat to the point to where we're putting so many steroids and everything else in our meat. It's no longer the same meat that your grandfather had from the farm like 20 years ago. So it's like, that's what's really killing more Americans than anything else. Nobody, including Lionel Izado, blaming cancer on testosterone and stuff like that was just cope rhetoric. Most people are dying because of food and consumption of wrong food and wrong think that leads to their plate.
Yeah,
that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, like, because I even talked about it like a week or two ago. I put up a video of where some lady put out how her fries got all moldy after 2 days being out, and I was talking about how, she should actually be happy that the fries molded after 2 days being out, because I see so many videos, and even I've experienced it, where if I've had food for a long time, like bread, right? I've had bread for like a month, didn't end up eating it or anything like that, but there's no mold on it whatsoever. And I'm like, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, why isn't things molding anymore? I've also seen it where people left like ice cream out and the ice cream doesn't melt at all. And it's like, yeah, it's totally like, what are they putting in our food nowadays? It's not natural stuff anymore. It's all synthetic,
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, I mean, you guys remember Super Size Me, right? Remember that movie,
that's
Super
a perfect
Size Me?
example of what's killing people. So back to I want to address this chatter real quick. So I'm going to also refute and also concede at the same time. I'm going to show you how I do this. Watch this alchemy happen as I'm addressing his alchemy point right now. So I tell you what, Martae, I'm a nobody, but I would debate bodybuilding being alchemy if you're down. So here's the thing, though. Christ asks us to change. If we go to a church, which is a hospital, we're asked to change. So you would even concede that that's a form of alchemy by your own standards. So I would even concede that and agree that, yes, it's a form of alchemy. My whole argument is saying, yes, if it's alchemy, why think bad? Like, what is the moral claim against this? Why would that be anti-Christian, even if it is alchemy? Because I'm changing myself to go against the world's ways and the way that they do things today.
All right. Yeah. That's pretty good. Pretty good stuff. But I remember the Super Size Me, where he just lived on, what is it, McDonald's? For how long did he live on McDonald's?
It was like 30 days.
Yeah, 30 days. By then, he was all out of shape and totally just no energy and everything like that. That was a pretty interesting documentary. Yeah. Didn't that guy pass away?
Yeah, he had a hard time. He had to quit it because his health problems were skyrocketing at such a high rate. And all this exemplifies like the problem and the conundrum we run into when people blame drugs and they don't want to blame what's on their plate. And that's the problem, though, is people having lack of denial of the flesh, lack of denial and indulgences, and not having discipline and adherence to suffering, embracing suffering. Any pro athlete that gets to the pro athlete level of the 1% elite that I'm at will tell you it takes a lot of suffering and sacrifice to do what we do. And even if you take away steroids from the playing field, there still would be as many pro bodybuilders as there are with steroids. So steroids doesn't move the needle on this. And also there really isn't a moral or immoral argument against this, because then we would demonize meat and everything else that, like, you even by your own admission would say bread doesn't even have mold. The food and everything else is now a chemical sludge that we have now. It's not the same thing your grandfather made on the pasture 20 years ago.
Morgan Spurlock was his name. Morgan Spurlock. He died at the age of 53 in 2024. From
what? What were the
it says Wikipedia says that I guess he had cancer. Says died on May 23rd, 2024. Spurlock died in New York from complications of an unspecified cancer. So
we also have to realize that is Wikipedia as well too. So half a grain of salt there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's crazy. I didn't even know the guy died, to be honest. But I mean,
I remember hearing about
53.
it.
Mind you, here's the thing though, and this goes to my argument as well too with the steroid argument. When women are having cancer, what do? They take anti-estrogens, which is that steroid that your body produces, which is a hormonal by the, I would say, the endocrine system. So you're anti that. So you would actually have to be anti another form of steroid that people take. When people take transformer drugs to turn into women, they have to take estrogen, right? Which is a steroid that people use. Now, that's my argument as far as the intention on why we do things. Now, I think that's where we need Christian bodybuilders in the trenches as well, too, because we need representation. Tell me I can't be the only Orthodox Christian, even as a catechumen, in battling these other people from other nations representing us. So it's like, I think we need more people that are going to take up part their carry their crosses to speak. And if we're doing this, you're suffering, right? There's fasting, everything else. I'm talking about the discipline, the suffering. I think that's a good thing. And we build men doing that, but it depends on the intention behind this and the outcomes.
Yeah, no, indeed. Good stuff, man. Yeah, like I said, this was like a learning thing for me too, because I honestly had no idea about a lot of this stuff. So yeah, man, like I said, this is very educational. Thank you, Martae.
I didn't mean to put on a clinic. I wanted to put on a debate.
I know, right? It just ended up being a bodybuilding clinic, teaching everybody about bodybuilding.
Good Lord. Yes. Well, that's what happens when you're like, if you're going to battle like somebody that did law enforcement for 13 years, 20 years, who's an expert, close to an expert in the field, or the closest thing to a subject matter expert, you're going to be learning a lot of shit, especially if you're like a layman and you're not even adjacent to the field. You're going to learn a lot. Hopefully this debate was kind of edifying to a lot of people at home and they saw this. Hopefully people are going to learn to eat more veggies, a lot more whole, clean foods, things like this. I would implore this. And before anybody thinks that I endorse steroids, I don't endorse steroids at all. When I talk to kids at school, I say, no, don't use this. And if I was to even endorse steroids at all, this would be to somebody who already turned pro. I'd say, well, in order to level the playing field, which is a whole different conversation, in order for us to even have that conversation, they actually have to turn pro. If you don't turn pro, I would say anybody out there, and this is for everybody at home, including kids, don't touch steroids, kids. It's really stupid unless your intentions are to win a bodybuilding contest naturally first, like I did before even touching anything. I think there's wisdom in regards to having success. Like, to me, I think that you have to work hard and learn to embrace suffering before anything else. There is no easy button for this.
Yeah, you brought up during the debate that kid, Little Hercules. I remember that kid.
Richard Sandrak was his name.
Yeah. So how did he get super muscular though? Like what
his parents were like strict authoritarian parents. They were like, you're gonna do like 50 push-ups today, and we're gonna have like, they had like a routine for him. They were making him do it. But guess what happens when he was underneath their roof? Yeah, what I say goes. But guess what happened? He has since been relinquished from their custody. And guess what? He has a surfer body, and now he's a surfer in California. He doesn't look like the same muscular kid ever before. You couldn't even tell like he was muscular, had a six-pack now.
Oh, wow. Crazy. Yeah.
It's a complete transformation. That's also bodybuilding reverting back to another shape and size. That's also bodybuilding the other way as well, too. What I want to promote is like good bodybuilding where it's purposeful, where you could defend your family. I'm not saying that you have to like change your physique to become an idol for people. I'm against idolatry in any means. If people look up to you, you need to steer them the right way and say, I don't want you to become me. I just want you to be a better version of yourself to emulate Christ. That's how I would tell people to do this. Now, even when I train people, and I have clients that I do train, by the way, and when I train these people, I tell them, like, don't do this for looks. Do this so that way you could protect your family and become more efficient as a protector and the head of the household that you should be. To me, that's more Christ-like than anything else. Screw the looks. You can get hit by a car and lose all your looks in 2 seconds. Who are you as a man? Because just because you have a bodybuilding physique doesn't make you a man. You know, being a man is a whole lot different, and that's a whole different conversation entirely.
Yeah, man, that's good stuff. Aftermath, did you have any questions or anything that you have to say after this debate?
Well, it was a pleasure getting my ass handed to me by Martae. It's an honor. I look forward to maybe in the future, maybe setting up another one. But like I said, this was just a I really can't be anything but other than just like I said, grateful. I appreciate it, man. Going before this whole afternoon, man, I was a little bit anxious and nervous, but then I was like, why am I so anxious and nervous? And then once we kind of got into it, I think it was just more like excitement. It was really fun, kind of, you know, just experiencing what a live debate in real time is. Go ahead, Martae, what's up?
You said it. Matter of fact, chat, if the chat's listening right now, I want you to hear what he just said. This is monumental and extremely important, what he just said. So what he just said, I'm having a little bit of brain fart here right now. So what he just said is I learned a whole lot from what just happened, and I was nervous. Mind you, when I get into a bodybuilding competition, I did 2 cage matches before in my life. Actually, believe it or not, I fought. I had my ass handed to me once, and there's not a time that I didn't have nerves or butterflies. I think, and this is what I'm going to tell you, Aftermath, right now, and I want the crowd to listen to. If you're going to do something and you don't have butterflies or nerves, I think you're kind of doing it wrong, because you should have the same apprehension before any opponent. And I think that this helps you out. If you don't have fight or flight and you're getting ready for a fight, it's not a fight at all, and you might get destroyed because of this. I think that we should be wary of anything that we get into where we're going to be attacked, whether or not it's our worldview or anything else. So I think that if you're nervous, Mike Tyson said this before, I'm nervous, but then when I go to the ring, the nerves decrease and all this. And then there's this whole speech by Mike Tyson. Before any time I compete and I hear that there's 4 people from Germany in the competition, I'm nervous as hell. I'm shitting bricks. But backstage, I'm like, oh, I see these guys. They're right there. They're not some imaginary monsters. And next thing you know, I'm like, oh, I'm about to destroy these people with the U.S. flag on my back. And that's how it should be. I think you should be nervous a little bit. I think there should be jitters. I had those before even this debate. We can't be so confident that we destroy and delete humility before any neutral grounds where we're going to beat an opponent. I think that's fair to even say. And I think that that's also admirable to even say as well, too.
Yeah. It definitely admirable. You know, before I've done debates, I've gotten nervous too. So yeah, it's completely normal, completely natural. I think Martae very well said what Martae had to say. So don't worry, brother. And like I said, every debate you do, you're just gonna get better, man. As long as you will.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, you learn from it. There's only nowhere to go but up, man. You know. And for your first time, like I said, I think you did fine. But you know what? Let's see what the poll said, though. I put up a poll. Who won this debate? 89% said Martae, 11% said Aftermath. That was out of 19 votes. So
you know what would help?
Chat, Martae won. What?
You know what would have helped though? Notice how me and Cool Vic have a based background, and you look like you're in a closet right now. I'm just gonna say, look, I'm gonna throw a jab. It isn't like really low, but when you come out of the closet. Let us know when you have a base background, and that'll help a lot. He's festive, by the way. I'm festive in a different way. But yeah, that's what I would say. I'm just funding you, by the way. Good debate, man. I appreciate the good awesome, back and forth, the heated exchange. It's all good.
Cool beans, man.
Yeah, and but before we go, Martae, how about you plug your stuff, and then Aftermath, tell the audience where they can find you.
Do you want me to go first?
We can do Martae.
Yeah, go ahead. Aftermath.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You can find me the Aftermath. Actually, I was going to ask, would you mind, Cool, to link my channel in the description of the video? Because Aftermath is kind of if you just go on YouTube and type in the Aftermath, you're gonna get like all this other crap. And if you could just do that, that'd be great. But yeah, I'm the Aftermath on YouTube. I believe it's at. Why am I just not looking? Aftermath. At Aftermath_official. I think if you type that in, it should pop right up. But yeah, I'm also on Rumble, BitChute, and Odyssey. So all the videos that I have uploaded on YouTube are also uploaded there. And yeah, you can find me on Twitter. I'm Covert Patriarch on Twitter. And yeah, follow me there.
Awesome, brother. All right, Martae, tell everyone where we could find you at.
I want to say again, Aftermath, when you're not a Protestant anymore, it'll be great. It'll be a great day if you can. I mean, you said you came from a family of Oriental Orthodox. Inquire, check out a parish, man. I'm down to even visit a parish with you if I have a time or anything like that. We can go check it out. I respect you as a fellow debater. Already, you seem eager, you seem hungry. And the reason why I'm here is to help you out and give you that ample push so that way you can succeed in the realm of debating. This takes time, man. You're not going to give yourself a little bit more grace because this takes time. And I understand this. I noticed the humility in your voice. That's why I'm not railing heavily against you. Mind you, I don't personally attack my opponents at all. Never have. Even the jihadist, I'll just call him that. The guy that I'm going to be debating for first cousin banging. I'm just going to call it that. It's like even him, he deserves grace. I'm going to pray for this guy, but I may be attacked. But this is the thing, though. We have to walk towards theosis and emulate Christ. So now goes my plug. You guys can find me on the Aftermath, which solves his problem. You can find me on not the Aftermath. Well, if you look on his channel, I'm currently on his channel right now. So that's how. So when you find me on the Edge, I used to have it written as On the Edge. Now I have it as OTE because I had the same problem. If you type in On the Edge, 50 million channels are going to show up. So that's why I have the host of OTE or something else On the Edge underneath here, but it's OTE with Martae Rayless. I've had to find a way to where it's easily accessible by name, right? Even if it's using an acronym. But to this, I want to say kudos to my mods, everybody else out here, Paige, Relentless, all those two people. Shouts out to both of you for regulating the chat. I know I have nefarious people in the chat, but you guys can find me at Mighty Martae on X and also _the real Mighty Mouse, and also on YouTube with OTE with Martae Rayless, and also on Vic's channel as well. Well, I'll be a regular as well too. He'll be streaming some of my debate reviews as well.
Hell yeah, guys. And yes, and Aftermath, I did include both your guys' links in the description down below. So in case you guys do have trouble finding it, the links are in the description for both of them. You could find them there. So thank you very much, both you guys. It was a great debate. Thank you for being on the show. I'll talk to you guys later.
All righty. Thanks, Cool Vic.
Christ is God.
Christ is God.
Christ is God.
Christ is God. All right. What's going on here? Where's my freaking screen? That's not it. Here it is. Haha. All right, guys. Since I went on a little bit earlier, I was expecting to start streaming at 5, but since I started streaming early, I do got a little bit of time. So if you guys want to hang out a little bit, we could hang out. We could do the boogie. Yeah. You could do the boogie. What'd you guys think of the debate? I thought it was pretty good. It's refreshing to see a debate that is not, neither of them were bad faith. It was a good faith debate. Even Aftermath, a rare thing that you see is where one of them actually concedes the debate and admit like, okay, yeah, listen, I'm going to give you this one because, listen, I've seen many debates now. It's rare when that happens. It's very rare when that happens, especially, Martae, he usually does battles against these bad faith lefties, and these lefties never want to admit they're wrong on anything. So to finally see a good faith debate and a concession on one of them, it was pretty good. I only caught the end. Well, hopefully you could go back and watch it. I'm not going to make this crap. I'm like, shit, if I hang out and if I watch some stuff, I might have to I'll probably members only this, cut it real quick and then re-upload it as its own debate. Maybe we'll see. This is great, Vic. I love to debate Martae. Yeah, well, hopefully, hey, like hit him up, message him, you know, and if you really want to have the debate about whether or not it's alchemy or not, and get into that, I'd be happy to host it. I'd be happy. Change out while you hang out. I'll hit you up on Instagram at the time and opportunity available. Of course, yeah, definitely. Don't be gay. Like the stream. Subscribe to Coolverse and ring that notification bell. Hell, Victors. Hell yeah. Thank you very much, Dave. Aftermath was a breath of fresh air, though. Good faith in his strategy, too. Yeah, indeed, Scott. Yeah, he was indeed a breath of fresh air. Yeah, like I said, if you want to follow either of these guys, the links are in the description. You know, I might as well plug. Why not? I got to shill. You know, I can't shill during the debate, so I should shill now. Alrighty, guys. All right. Well, if you haven't hit that like button yet, make sure you do so, or else you're gay. I don't make the rules. I'm just trying to save you from sin, guys. Make sure you click that like button so that you don't turn into a homosexual. And also subscribe to my channel. Subscribe to my channel. I upload new videos every single day, and I live stream Mondays through Fridays. You can also become a member to my channel. You get access to custom emojis. I shout you out when I see you, and you get access to the previous live streams. Also, join the Discord. The Coolverse is growing, and all the cool kids are in the Coolverse. So join the Discord if you think that the people in the chat are some awesome folks. Well, you can talk to them anytime. There's a lot to do in the Discord. Also, too, send a super chat if you want to support the show and the channel, and if you thought the debate was good, and if you want to support the maintenance for the Analverse portal, huh? I am also on Instagram and TikTok. I'm also streaming on Kick. I'm also streaming on X. I'm also on the Green Video platform, too. Thank you very much, Real Rain, for becoming a new member. Hell yeah, brother. Now you got your official documents. You're an official documented member of the Coolverse. I promise. I am planning on having a members-only stream soon. I promise you guys. That's where we get the ice of Coolverse, kick out all the undocumented people, and we just keep it to the documented citizens of the Coolverse. And thank you, Dave, for sharing these links in the chat. Also, thank you, Scott, for sharing Martae's channel, too, and Aftermath. Good job, Mark Dose. I ain't gay no more. Good job. See? It's easy not to be gay. All right. You know, all the talk about bodybuilding real quick. Let's see. Let me bring something up real quick. All right. You know what? I actually can't. I was hoping it would just be like one video, but it looks like it's a whole thing. Let me see. You know, maybe now that I know Martae, you know, maybe I should start my own bodybuilding federation. Thank you very much, Nick, for becoming a new member. Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah. You're an official documented citizen to the Coolverse. Oops, I didn't share this. Maybe I should start my own bodybuilding federation, huh? Vince McMahon's like failed World Bodybuilding Federation, where he kind of mixed the theatrics and gimmicks of wrestling with bodybuilding. I wonder if Martae's ever seen this. But I'm looking for something specific though. Like there's this one routine. It was like a whole thing, and I was like, dude, why? What's with the Ultimate Warrior's fit? He has like a collared shirt that has his logo on his shoulder, and he has suspenders. What is this? 13 would make it looks like the Ultimate Warrior. If Ultimate Warrior and IRS combined, they had to all be on sync. Uh-oh. I'm gonna have to stop playing this because YouTube's freaking yelling at me now. We've detected a video in your stream belonging to someone else. Your stream may be temporarily blocked if you plan to continue, blah, blah, blah. Screw off, YouTube. Screw off. You always got to ruin the fun. Stupid YouTube. Thank you very much, Postal Joe, for $5. I'm not impressed. This is what it's like at the post office every morning. Thank you very much for your support, brother. The 80s at its finest, yeah. Well, this was in 1991. This was early 90s. Whatever happened to the Lingerie Football League? That's a good question. Didn't it actually become... I remember that was like only for the Super Bowl, and then it became like an actual league, didn't it? Like it became an actual thing. Arnold the Strangulator. Welcome to the World Bodybuilding Federation. But yeah, stupid YouTube always has to ruin the fun. Ex-NFL. Yeah. Yeah, run off of the 90s, yeah. Or the 80s, yeah. It was the 80s bleeding over. The 80s bleeding over into the 90s. Big shock. YouTube's good at that. Yeah, exactly. Hey, what happened to the invasion, TikTok invasion? You know, that was going on when I started the debate. Yeah, I heard I saw he had to stop the stream, and then he restarted it while the debate was going on, and then I think it ended probably like, I don't know, what, 20 minutes ago? I noticed because more people came into the chat, so I was like, more people came into the stream, so I was like, oh, the invasion must have ended. But what happened? It ended kind of early. Someone asked me something earlier. Let me bring it up. Well, someone mentioned how they missed my Raging Tomato coverage. I should be uploading that like tomorrow. Someone spurred a naughty word. That rhymes. Someone spurred a naughty word. Yeah, no, I heard that's why he had it ended the first time. But did it just end the second time? Like, was that it, or what happened? Andrew Martae were having technical issues. The libs did it. It was the panelverse. Damn it! He ended a bit early because he's coming back on tomorrow night. Okay, I just didn't know if he had any other like issues or something. Maybe the panelverse was attacking them. You know, the power of the panelverse. I heard Rob is going to be doing another 24-hour stream. I'm like, that's crazy. Because he's going to be doing it on Christmas, no? I'm like, wow. Rob be working hard. Don't spurge out. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, don't spurge. Sarah Center eluded the computer sorted out. Yeah, probably. Wouldn't be surprised. The power of the lewds. Let me see if I got anything on the X bookmarks real quick while we're here. I don't have anything bookmarked, huh? I have these two things bookmarked. Hey, by the way, for you members, I added a new emoji. I added a new Snizzlicker emoji. Oh yeah, see? Mark Dose posted it. Thought he was uploading his 24-hour stream in parts. Oh, maybe. I don't know. Maybe he is. Maybe that's what it is. I thought he was going live. What happened? More stripper drama? Yeah, see? All the members showing off those snizzlicker emojis. Brand new, straight off the press. It'll be just 24 hours of Rob's chair, and I'll make him more money than anything Brian Shapiro's done. That's true. That's true. Brian Shapiro might have been doing this for like 20 years, and he's interviewed this person and that person and all this stuff. But he's never made a shitload of money off of just filming his chair. Show off, say poor Wickmoto. Hey, how's it going, Emmett? Nice to see you hosting debates again. Yeah, hell yeah, brother. I want to host an Emmett debate, damn it. But you're having trouble finding. As soon as you find yourself a libertarian, Emmett, to debate, bring that to my channel. I want to host an Emmett debate. Thank you, Vic. This will come in handy. Yeah, the snizzlicker. You ever wonder what happened with Sarah? Just remember she's an old stripper. That says everything about her. Yeah. An old stripper. An aging, rotten tomato. I would also love to host Andrew and her dad having a conversation, huh? That debate would be great. The prompt, is Sarah a whore? I've also been alive for over 35 years, but that doesn't mean I'm any good at it. That's funny. I really hope they sanitize that poll. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, as long as she's keeping those tomatoes locked up. A dad bait, yeah. But yeah, if that should ever happen, I would love to host that. All right, guys, your opening statements, and then Andrew goes, and then her dad goes. You call my daughter a whore. She is my Sarah Bear, and she is not a whore. My opponent's going to try to slander her and say that because she posted up lewds online and she said all these things that she is a whore. I am going to be demonstrating how she's not a whore. Fake tomatoes. Oh, dude, the Cope stream would be glorious. Hey, speaking of Cope streams, wait, what is this? Her dad would just go on about his daughter being an independent businesswoman. Yeah. It's 2025 now, Andrew, and my daughter can do whatever she wants. Imagine what her dad's like. He must be a raging leftist. Probably. I don't know. Something tells me that I think the dad's more based. I think the dad's more conservative. I think it's the mom that's probably more like hippie and free spirited. Really disappointed conservative. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Anyway, it's funny though. Let me bring this up. So you know Amanda, the woman that Rachel debated recently, the really huge woman, the huge feminist. She like left a comment on my video. Here, let me pull it up.
Without the technology, if we had an EMP.
Quasimodo. Yeah. Where is it at? All right, well, I have to find it. But it's just like, she's so lame. Is this it? Oh, here we go. Yeah, so here it is right here. So Caldwell Alec, who's a Coolverse member. Thank you to Caldwell Alec. I just gotta say, I love that you find the cope afterwards. Like, I watch most of these debates, but I usually have no clue that they go on other streams and start crying about how bad they lost. And so Amanda here responds, I scheduled that stream with Craig before I ever contacted MDD, actually. So caller responds, that's great, but I don't really think I made a claim as to when it was scheduled, just what ended up happening. And then Amanda responded, you called it a cope stream. We spent most of the time talking about the book. Your boy cut most of that out. I mean, right there, her responses right here are, in fact, cope, are in themselves cope. And so he calls it out and says, you're still coping now. And I didn't call it anything. Can you show me where I said the phrase cope stream? And so then he responds again. Did she delete the comment? Did she delete the comment? Maybe she did. Here, what I actually said, so you can stop making stuff up and arguing with the voices in your head. All I said was that I like that he will find where debaters talk about the debate afterwards. And yes, I would often characterize it as coping because it is. You guys were just reassuring each other. Oh, no, you did totally great. It definitely wasn't embarrassing. Oh, yeah, like 12 women do that job. That means you were totally right. But what I didn't say was that it was a cope stream or that it was scheduled sometime after the debate or that you didn't talk about other things. Just that he finds when people talk about it afterwards and that, yes, the specific segment we see is cope. So I think either YouTube's not showing all the comments or she deleted it, but she pretty much only responded with calling him an incel. That's all she could think of was just, are you an incel? That's the debate coach right there, by the way. That's the debate coach. Like, he actually presented a good argument. He actually presented something good there, and all she could do was just, well, are you an incel? It's like some debate coach, huh? All she could do is just call people incels. I wonder how she found it. Yeah, I know. It's happened to me before. There's been a few times where the people who I'm talking about in the video have commented on the video. I remember that one, some of it good, some of it bad. Like, but I've had the people who I've talked about comment on it. So I don't know how they find it. I don't know if it just comes up on their feed or whatnot, but it's nothing new. It's happened before. Change it to newest comments and scroll down and it should show everything. Let me try that. Because, yeah, that could be it. Here we go. Yeah, no, she deleted it. It still didn't come up. She deleted it. Wow. Even she knew that it was embarrassing. 2/3, and if it wasn't true, they wouldn't get mad. Yeah. Like her very comments under the video is itself cope. All her appearance on Craig's stream was cope from both of them. Remember, Craig was like, how did you think I did in the debate, huh? Tell me about my performance. Like, he was even looking to her to tell him that he did a good job. They were coping with each other. It was funny. Womp womp. Yeah. But yeah, I love the cope streams. I'm glad you guys too. Because yeah, the coping is hilarious. Kuvik, bad Kuvik. We need evidence their cope. Yeah. Figures not only was a comment about the cope stream, but she's even removed it. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, sucks to suck. Yeah, I know. Sucks to suck. All right, guys. Well, let's see. I think Martae's still on. So if you want, I could raid you guys over to Martae. Wi-Fi Gospel's also on too. Speakeasy's also hosting a debate. You guys want me to raid you over to Martae? I'll just raid you over to Martae. Jay Dyer's playing Red Dead Redemption. There's that. Dave says Wi-Fi. So there's one vote for Wi-Fi. That's tough. Yeah, I know, right? I'll just raid you guys to Martae. All right, guys. I don't know if I'm going to be in tomorrow. He called it Mormon wife catcher. That's funny. All right, Speakeasy. I just set it up for Martae, guys. If you guys want to switch and go to Speakeasy or Wi-Fi's or Jay's, that's completely up to you. It's not like you have to stay in Martae's, but or you could just leave now and go to whatever you desire. But thank you guys for joining me today. I hope you guys like the debate. And like I said, I don't know if I'm going to be here tomorrow because tomorrow's Christmas Eve. So maybe I might do a stream, but I might not. So if I don't do Christmas Eve and if I don't do Christmas, I'm definitely going to be back Friday. Okay. I'll definitely be back Friday. So I'll see you guys then. If I guys don't see you before Christmas, I hope you guys all have a very Merry Christmas, a very blessed Christmas with your family and loved ones. And yeah, I hope you guys all have a good and blessed day. Hail Victors, and Christ is God. I'll see you guys later.